LA leakers,
You
just
know it.
incredible sour milk.
Oh, it's gonna be one of those moments.
Is it?
Yeah, man. We got Big Crit here. So
Meridian,
yeah.
Mississippi.
Going down.
Bars stepped in the building.
Woo.
All right, we ready?
Let's go.
Let's get to it.
You sure?
I think I'm ready.
Hey.
I ain't never had no one ad-lib the intro. Shit, legendary off top.
Yeah.
Crit
Y'all
is here.
motherfuckers is crazy. Yeah.
Mississippi.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I woke up in a game with songs sounding the same, flow sounding the same. I thought I knew who it was. Gladiator sport, like all they want is the blood. Shootouts over the ground for likes, that's all it was. The fight was just the buzz, the album that's coming up. The chains overlap, like we ain't blinging enough. The cars that we drove were only for videos, and the budget came back like, nigga, what the fuck? Streams, does it really mean cream? Platinum but still broke, like what the fuck does that mean? Favorite artist breaking down? Foreclosures on the acres now. Cause every blog pick it up. Win a bus out of lust. Fuck another rapper brawl. Rap about it cause it's raw. Then she go talk about it all. Win a loser or the draw. She say she pregnant lately. It's crazy how they playing. I'm praying for the baby. Too many times I seen private lies, man's publicized. Trying to peep the message with emoji eyes. Why the money bags go to suit and ties? They sell that same shit back to you and I. We watch it with our popcorn and drink and talk about it all at a job we probably hate. Wishing that we was the one with the cars and the girls and the guns, and we made that shit look fun. Thinking back on all the shit that I did, just a kid from the SIP. Yeah, I come from the sticks with stones that's rolling like is you holding bass. The highs and lows were tweaking. No 808s might blow your face off. Nicolas Cage with it, joy and pain. Frankie and Maze with it. Shout out them dope boys that told me I was better off rapping, not with the trapping. If the ship sail, kidnap the captain and force him listen to the wave of a nigga that's snapping. I swear my need to shine gave my mama contractions. Outcomes critting, the outcomes this. The way I turn fire in the flow, I'm an alchemist. The way I whip up the sauce, you can't doubt my wrist. My rollie told me ain't been a time like this. Not even when the dinosaurs was roaming the earth. A caveman with mine, bitch, I got to be first. Keep what I kill, take care of the village I build. Multi-alumni niggas know where I live. Branded, high and demanded. It's all home runs from here. Like they throwing underhanded. Shit. Y'all know I don't like freestyling, but it's a long way from Def Jam Linen Closet. This a chess move with checkers on the board. This that one time you realize all the shit you could afford, like those gold BBS's, diamond necklace, wood grain, foreign the rain, driving reckless, Louis lenses, bound to change your perspective. Dark skinned, guard body, black excellence, black queens, but those cakes is too decadent. I had to come back twice. I told God I love my life and that this would suffice. Before I saw a flick from Spike, I was doing it right. Crystal.
Yay.
Yeah. Multi.
Yo, Crit is here, man.
From the SIP to LA, man.
Yes,
Welcome
sir.
back to Shouter.
Okay, that's
Hey,
a
bro,
nice little
thank you so
vibe.
much.
You
I
got
know
going.
you could do
That's
that
nice.
anywhere,
That's
man.
a nice little vibe. I said that was a nice
Yeah.
little vibe. I like that. That
Oh,
was
I
nice.
love that. That's like one. Well, I was introduced to Big Crit. I never knew about Big Crit until I met my man, and I was like, yo, he's dope. Like I was listening
Yeah.
to other like some of his other stuff. I was like, yo, very slept on. Very slept on. Shout out to Big Crit. We gonna move on. What up, everybody?
What up, folks? Oh my God, it's the
Oh.
biddies. It's
It's
the
the
biddies doing bitty
biddies.
things.
I didn't want to ruin the surprise. That's why I didn't put in the title. But it is the biddies. Y'all already know the schedules are conflicting, but as soon as we can figure it out, we will.
I know, because Nova out here just gallivanting across the country on some fuck shit. Yeah, I mean, out here perusing the nation and shit. I don't know.
You know, just doing traveling and stuff, you know, touching grass as they say.
You're doing bitty things. I'm doing bitty things. That's all. We're up to bitty things in real life. And it sucks that our schedules haven't matched up, but like I know we're both doing wonderful things. I wish we could share it online, but you know, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. That's the hard part. But you know, y'all know we love y'all.
Oh
Marty, what's going on?
I love Mari the most and Taylor Noir. They're my favorite. Apartment wife. Oh my God. You know what I mean? I keep her barefoot pregnant in my kitchen all day. You know what I mean?
We got Castle Brava.
They came first.
Oh, I wanted to play some real quick because
Yeah.
this is something that, like, I think when we was talking to your mama the other day, right?
Oh my
Something that I
God.
think flies over a lot of people's heads. Oh,
I
something that
hate you
flies
so
over a lot
much.
of people's heads. Where he lives, even where I live, right? Our
Hmm.
votes are not really worth much because of where we live at. Um, but we live in overwhelmingly blue states.
Hmm.
So the likelihood of some rights being taken away from us is like slim to none, but that doesn't mean it won't happen or that it can't happen eventually. And the reality is, like, if you see a human right on the table,
Yes.
not speaking up for that will eventually trickle down to you. It may not be
Ultimately,
today,
well,
may
that's
not
just
be
the way our
tomorrow.
American legal system works. And I think a lot of, like you said, a
Exactly.
lot of people don't understand how politics and law, coincide and work off of each other, because at the end of the day, like you said, if you see something, a civil right, like just a basic right to, let's say, use the restroom, right? Like,
Hmm.
who gets to use a restroom? If all of a sudden we allow our government to determine who can and cannot use a particular restroom, we are giving them precedent to determine more things in our personal life. Now we're allowing them to say who is or is not a Pacific gender, or who is allowed in or out of specific places. And I think the ramifications are a lot bigger than what people really understand. That's why when we
Hmm.
talk about abortion rights, if somebody says, hey, I want to control a woman's menstruation, like they Project 2025, in page, I think 47, talks about abortion, and it talks about having a registry of menstruation. So that means that your OBGYN has to report to the government when your menstruation is. And the reason they would want to do this, and this is so crazy, I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, I was talking to BGTV about this, and he's like, oh, you're being a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, no, I'm watching this happen in the background. So
Hmm.
anyway, they stack the courts to do this. And if somebody can control and monitor your menstrual cycle, that means if you ever do become pregnant, or you miss a period, or you have a miscarriage, you can be held liable. The government can now
Hmm.
invade your womb.
That's crazy.
And that's insane, because I think, you have to ask yourself, if a woman has to go through the government to have control of her body, why don't we do that to men too? I would argue that if we're going to control women's reproductive rights, we should control men's reproductive rights also at the government level.
Yeah, why aren't there vasectomies, court ordered across the board until
Mhm.
you've like passed some sort of um test to be able to finally start to reproduce? You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Well,
like
in
if you're
some
gonna
areas, if a
control,
woman wants to get a hysterectomy, or she wants to get a breast reduction, or if she wants to get a mastectomy, she has to get um,
yeah,
paperwork from her husband. Her husband has to say that it's okay for her to remove her ovaries. It's okay for her to remove her her reproductive organs. And then I know in the state of Nevada where I had to fight to get my tubalization, which is when they remove the tubes altogether. It's like a little further
hmm,
beyond getting your tubes tied, but like they told me you
that's
either have
better.
to be.
No,
Oh
that's
yeah, it's
better
way
than
better.
the two part. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have to worry about it accidentally growing back or anything.
Yes. Hmm.
So when I got mine done, I they told me you either have to be 27 years old, married with 3 children, or
That's
have at
crazy.
least 4 children as a single mother to even be considered for this. It took a long time for me to get mine done, and I had to go through all these hoops. But if a man wants Viagra, right? Like,
Hmm.
all he has to do is go online and do it.
Yeah.
So we have to really understand, like, it's about control. And it's like, I think BGTV said it too. My daughter is growing up in this world. Our nieces, our nephews, our great
Yes.
nieces,
That's
they're
yeah.
growing up in this world. And are we really going to hand them a government that says, I control your womb? Right? Like, that's, come on. Our
Right.
wombs weren't controlled, right? Why should
Which
we
is
have our
crazy.
children go through that?
And it's crazy too because the folks that are advocating for that are folks that would typically advocate for like no government overreach, right? Like no government,
Which is insane
um,
too.
which
Yes.
is insane. Like there
They're
needs
all
to
about
be
small government. Republicans used to be
exactly.
about less regulation. We don't want the
It doesn't
government
feel that way
involved
no
in our
more.
lives. Absolutely, because unfortunately, the Republican Party in the last 6 years has been overrun by evangelical Christians.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
the evangelical Christians who've already decided they know what's best for your body. They know where your genitals should be and should not be. And if you don't do what they want you to do with their genitals, then, it's against the law and it's crazy.
Yeah, the separation of church and state is like
Yes.
not so much what it should be. But they're giving free checks.
I know, my bad. Listen, I
Little
guess I
funky
didn't
ass
get the free
checks.
checks. Here's the thing. I didn't get the free checks because my sons were adults.
I got
You
them.
know, I was a hoe and I had babies really young. So fuck you. So I had already maxed out of that situation, right? And so I didn't get a free check. So where's my money? Where's my 40 acres and a mule? Right? Like what the fuck?
Johnny Bass said, "We all know women's are not very responsible. We men's are just trying to help."
Oh, of course. Thank you so much because I didn't know what to do with my eggs. I didn't know if I needed them scrambled or fertilized. Thank you so much for helping me.
They will want these preventative procedures like abortion for their side pieces out of wedlock. Yeah,
Ooh.
exactly.
Donald Trump had many of
Exactly.
abortions with many of women.
Yes.
Remember
yeah, a lot of
during
them
the
have,
90s?
yeah.
Well, during the 90s, Donald Trump said that him having sex with all of these women, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, some of them were illegal encounters because they were underage or they were forcible encounters. He's been held liable for two, actually.
Ooh.
Now, in these encounters, we know for a fact Donald Trump has admitted to making sure women have had abortions. Okay. We also know that Donald Trump calls his 90s sexcapades his Vietnam. And he did this way back. Yeah, he did this on Howard Stern back in the day. He was like, yeah, surviving the 90s with all the STDs, it was like my Vietnam. I came out unscathed. It was terrifying. Like, that's how weird this guy is.
He's insane.
Yeah.
He's so crazy. Like, yo, did you see he said he had a bigger crowd than MLK during his
I was watching it live, honey. I'm talking to the TV and my dude is like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is bullshit. That's a lie. That doesn't even make sense.
So I'm gonna play this thing really quickly. It's just like 30 seconds. I'm not gonna put it up because I don't need to, but it made me think of the conversation with your mama and about reproductive rights and stuff. Made me think of this poem, and I think people always need to remember this when you're voting. Like, something may not affect you directly. You may feel like it's cool to throw away your vote because you live in a state that the votes aren't counted as much or whatever. But eventually it can come down to you. And then when it comes down to you, what happens? So
First for the communists, and I didn't speak up.
Let me go back.
They came first for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Catholics, and I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and by that time no one was left to speak up.
I always remember that when I'm thinking about like certain issues, you know what I mean? That may not directly affect me because eventually it can spill over. Don't get it twisted.
I feel like to young
Let
women,
me pause this real quick because I think you'll like this. MAGA podcast snaps at his wife. It's his podcast.
I saw this one. Yes. Yes.
So we're gonna watch this real
his
quick.
shit, didn't he?
For decades. Oh wait, Mighty says, why is it so difficult for men to just put on a condom or get a vasectomy?
Well, I mean, again, I think that comes back to like the way we're raised. So in small towns and these red states, we're told abstinence only. So a lot of people are ignorant to how sex even works. Yeah, like I have literally talked to adults in very small towns who don't understand how their uterus works. Like I've had to show them pictures of like how she's like, women, there are people who believe their womb is a wound, okay, and it's bleeding once a month. And I'm like, no, you're not bleeding, baby. And she's like, I don't understand. What do you mean I'm not bleeding? And I had to explain to her what a period was and how it actually works. So unfortunately, in small towns, in areas that just don't have good sex education, People are exceptionally ignorant. And to address this next question, for decades, abortion has disproportionately eliminated minority babies. That's a falsehood. If you look at the statistics of abortions, unfortunately, we are disproportionately represented in low income areas, and people in low income areas do not get abortions. Unfortunately, they cannot afford them. They do not have access to them, and they eventually end up having those kids. We end up calling those women welfare mommies, right? Welfare queens. So this statement doesn't even make sense. It's not true at all. The majority of people who get abortions are married white women. And you can look at that. So if you really want to look at the numbers, the biggest demographic of people getting abortions are married white women, followed by college-age white women. This is not something that you can look it up yourself. So unfortunately, your question just doesn't make sense because it's based on false information. And a lot of times that's what this is we're running with false information and we're not fact checking.
Yep. Double condoms, double protection is one of my favorite myths.
Exactly, right? Like it's
just women with money will always have access to abortion, even if it's illegal. That's why it is so dangerous to make it harder to get an abortion, because the poor people, the ones that they're going to be the ones affected. Yeah. Exactly. The ones that would actually be able to get to an abortion clinic, now they won't be able to even get it. And if it's out of state, if it's 2 states away, they're done. They're cooked.
Exactly, because the price of that is ridiculous. Not only do I have to pay for the abortion, I have to pay for the trip, I have to pay for the travel, I have to pay for my stay. You know, there's so many things. And unfortunately, in low-income areas, people don't have a week to recover. People don't have a day even to go and get this procedure done because they're worried about other things in their life. Like they literally are living check to check. So like I said, that statement talking about, it disproportionately eliminated minority babies, that's just a falsehood.
That's a talking point.
It is a very bad talking point. Yeah.
All right, here we go. I thought this was funny. Who sent this to me? BGTV, I think. Yeah, BGTV. And I thought this shit was funny because there's this movement. Y'all know we've talked about it before. This whole trad wife movement, that they're sort of romanticizing this idea of women being more subdued, more submissive, if you will.
The 1950s housewife, I think, is the best way to describe it. Like the quiet, barefoot, pregnant, subservient to her husband housewife.
Right.
The prototype, yeah.
Now, how does that manifest? So we're going to see. Let's see. This is a MAGA podcaster.
Unironically, they need to find a man that's very misogynistic. If you at all want to have a guy that's going to like make you follow his frame, and you need to find a strong Christian man that's going to put you in your place, or else you're going to dominate the relationship.
Well, that was someone by the name of Isabella Moody, and her husband will be in a lot of these videos I'm going to play for you. We have a lot to look at, so get ready, brace for impact. And his name's Josiah Moody. So Isabella and Josiah Moody. And despite many of you possibly having the thought of, are these 12-year-olds? We're looking at, I guess, people who are in their 20s. So
early 20s, yeah.
There it is. And one of the things that I get in terms of feedback on this show often is I love seeing someone of my age. You all will say, I love seeing someone your age who is espousing these pro-democracy views, who you guys perceive to be rational. And get this, I perceive myself to be rational too. And so that's kind of a compliment that is often levied the way the show, and I appreciate that. I want to now show you that not everyone around my age has the same views that I have, as you saw a little sneak peek of there. So let's start going through it. And the only reason I'm aware of this Isabella Moody and Josiah Moody is because of Right Wing Watch. It's an account on at least X, but definitely across social media platforms.
I've been following them a long time.
Deep dives into the right wing online content space and then grabs moments. So we'll look at some clips from them and some other moments from the podcast that Isabella Moody does. Here's another moment.
I wouldn't have let you walk out until my point was conveyed that you do what you're supposed to do, whatever I tell you to do, because that's your job, is to submit, do it with a smile on your face. I don't care. I wouldn't have let you leave. I
Mhm.
would have, you would have had to eat whatever mean things I would have said. And then the job would have got done. And then afterwards, after the cooling down process, I would have, repented to God and
Okay,
smooth things
pause.
over with you for.
Okay, there is the Christian
so much here.
evangelical framework.
Yeah.
He said it perfectly. I'm going to
Mhm.
abuse you. You have to take my abuse. And after I'm
And
done
I repent.
abusing you, then I'm going to repent to my God, clean myself, and we can move on from here. It has nothing to do with you, the person who's being
At all.
abused. It's about me and my God. God said that I get to control you. And as long as I apologize to God, then he's going to be totally fine with it because you're my wife. You're my flesh. I do
Mhm.
whatever I want with my flesh. And there is that evangelical rhetoric that we're hearing across the board.
Yeah.
And I've
Yep.
been listening to it for years. Me and you had that talk about the
Yeah.
manosphere, remember? And I'm like, this is the
Yep.
evangelical right. And it's
Mhm.
crazy, especially when I see black men fall into this because there are racial undertones to this that
Yes.
you're not understanding, right? It's
Yes.
absolutely insane. Insane.
Yes, and because that model has never I know some of these some like the Black Manosphere guys
Yeah.
or even like black right wing guys, they'll often say, well, we were happier in like the
Mm-hmm.
40s and 50s before the welfare and all this other stuff because it was the traditional,
They'll point to Black
dynamic.
Wall
But
Street. Yeah.
but
They'll
the
be like, oh,
reality is that it wasn't the traditional dynamic. Actually, black couples have and black women have never really had the opportunity to be the stay-at-home wife in the way that white women have. It was
yes.
always the women worked, the men worked because of where black folks were put in, you
Yeah.
know,
There was no other
in
choice
society.
for black
Yeah,
families.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's unfortunate, but it is a harsh reality. And so
Hmm.
it kind of points to, because I was, like I said, you guys know that I was reading that book about white America,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and they
Uh,
made this really interesting notion in the book. The author kind of points out that it's white women in America that change things. It's white women in America who finally got together and said, hey, we want to vote. If it wasn't for those suffragettes getting together and be like, hey, we want to vote, a lot of everything that happened after would not have happened. Like they were
what's
the
up, Arrow?
beginning. And
Yeah.
when we, even when we watch politics today, white women for Harris, holy shit, my guy. Let me explain something to you. Though the Black
Hmm.
Women for Harris campaign has been amazing, but white women for Harris has literally took her from 4% ahead of Trump to 7% ahead of Trump. We're projected to be double digits in the next week. And it's literally
Ooh.
because of white women. And I want to make sure I emphasize that because like a lot of times when we're talking about this stuff, we have a tendency to shit on white women. And I never want that to be the thing, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Well, I
I
mean,
yeah.
it's almost like there's more of them in the country. They obviously are in a position in society where they can like move the needle a bit, which we see with when
Mhm.
women's rights were on the table and women's rights to vote or whatever. Although, don't get me wrong, the suffragettes once they got their right to vote, they ain't
They
give a
kind of
shit
backed
about
out.
women. Of yeah,
Exactly. Let's be
yeah,
real. They were
but
racist bitches, but they
yeah,
did
they
something
were.
and we appreciate what they
And
did,
a
right?
lot of their desire to vote was because
Yeah.
they didn't want black men to get the right to do it for them.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
but
It's
I will
nuanced.
say that there's a lot more of them in the country. So it is powerful when they do step up to push, you know, someone like I don't know what Obama's numbers were, but right now we see with Kamala, right? That is
Yeah.
going to be a huge push if white women are also on board
Yeah.
and really like trying to push her forward. Um, I've seen white women into Walz because he reminds them of their dads pre-Trump. Who said? Somebody told me Walz is like. I think it was BGT. I was talking to BGT yesterday. I think it was him that said Walz is like a Bernie in
Walt
some of his
is
policies.
well,
Very
he's
similar.
I would say that he is definitely a progressive
He's as close
Democrat.
to Bernie you're gonna get. Yeah, that they're gonna let up.
Um the only difference between him and Bernie is that Walt is all about comprehensive gun control. He's a hunter. He hunts every season with his kids. He's really, really big into it. And so he's been pushing for not just an elimination of gun rights, but he really wants comprehensive gun rights. And so that would be the one thing that they kind of differ on, but I would say it's a pretty good comparison to say he's a lot like that. He's definitely a progressive, like he said. Yeah, he's
more
super
progressive.
And if we compare him to some of the radical MAGA right, he's pretty much centrist. So it really depends on what we're comparing him to and like what we're putting him up against. But remember, he served 25 years in the military. He was a sergeant major, one of the highest positions you can be. After that, he goes into Congress. I think it's Congress, and he serves there. He becomes the governor of a state, helping to bring free meals to children. He made sure to do that within the first 13 months of his stint. He fights for teachers. And I think a lot, like she was saying, a lot of white women are looking at him and they're like, you remind me of my dad. He coached high school football. He was a high school teacher. He's just one of these everymen. I agree that he's definitely progressive. And I really appreciate him. I think choosing him changed the race because you started to see a tick more towards Harris and Walz as soon as she announced it. It came at like 1-2%, and then over the last 48 hours, you're seeing these huge gaps in the polls. And I've been watching every morning. I log in every morning just to see the polls.
Well, think about it too. Like Bernie, the establishment didn't like Bernie, right? People like Bernie, and had it been Bernie up against Trump, Bernie probably would have won. So now Walz is as close to that as we can get because the establishment doesn't hate him.
Exactly.
And, Bernie had too long pissing people off, so they was like, "No, we're not dealing with him." And
we're done with Bernie. We love Bernie. I coming from the West Coast, I will always love Bernie Sanders. He's amazing. I think he's done great work for the country. But at this point, I think me and BG were talking about this. Our House and our Congress are so fucking old. Okay, House and Congress are so old, and like we can't sit here. Yeah, they're boomers. They're legit boomers. Some of them are in the silent generation.
Exactly.
We need to like get people in there like Crockett. We need more people like AOC. We need more voices who are in their 30s, maybe in their 40s and 50s, who can actually speak to what's going on. And I know like 40 and 50 isn't a younger person, but that's about as young as we're going to get. Yeah, like when you really think about Congress and Senate, do you really want a 30-year-old in Congress and Senate? No. I probably don't. 40, 50 is good.
40s, 50s is good. I think that's fair. 30, you don't want me in fucking Congress. Okay?
Like I would fuck some shit up. Do you understand?
As I am on here, I would fuck everything up. You don't understand. The minute I'm able to write the minute I'm able to put shit into action, fuck all y'all. Y'all been fucking this shit up forever. I'm doing it. I'm doing it today.
And I think another thing, Walz and Harris are both pushing for unions. They just locked down the teachers' vote. Okay, the teacher vote, they locked it down. The union vote, they locked it down.
The working class vote, because people, that's a huge deal. I mean, I was in a union. It always trips me out when people talk shit about unions because I was in a union, and when I was in a union, I got paid the most I've ever gotten paid on the job. I had all my benefits. I was able to walk away from that job with a pension, even though I didn't stay for the whole 20 years. I still had almost 10 grand in pension. And I was able to take that out while I was looking for something else. I had the best experience as an employee in a union. So I understand why employers don't want them, but people.
Listen, when you look at first world countries, the first world countries that have the best like happiness rate overall, like their citizens are happy, are nations that have strong unions.
That's true.
You're taking care of your working class, aka salt of the earth, which is what the Republican Party used to be. When John McCain was alive, he was about the working class. He cared about the working man, the iron workers, the oil workers, he cared about those people and he fought for those people.
That's why people liked him, even though he was a warmonger.
Exactly. He fought for the working man.
Nova is an authoritarian. Yes, I keep telling y'all, don't ever vote for
don't
me.
give her
Don't
power.
ever vote for me.
Never. You see how she do it on streams, kicking people off and shit. Like you can't give her no power. She's already corrupted. You know. Shit.
I'm like, y'all don't know what y'all want. I got it. Don't worry about it.
I know what you
I'll
need.
take
You don't know
care
what
of
you
it.
want. I know what you need.
Or the sinful behavior. That's how things would have went down.
Okay, and before playing another clip, let me give you a sense of what Isabella Moody has been tweeting. She wrote recently, "Democrats didn't destroy America. Feminism did."
Oh no.
This one's
Love
a
that
beaut.
argument.
Stop wearing sunscreen. Stop taking birth control. Don't go to college. Stop trusting the experts.
Okay, pause.
And then being married has taught me so much.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go back to that first one. Yeah, you got to go back to that first. Exactly. So exactly. Stop wearing sunscreen. That is a QAnon conspiracy. That is straight out of QAnon conspiracy.
Really?
Yeah. So
what is it?
The conspiracy is that sunscreen has this chemical inside of it that seeps inside of your blood and penetrates the membrane of your brain, and the government uses it to control your thoughts. So
shit.
It's also one of the reasons why they're like, don't use fluoride toothpaste. And that's why they put fluoride in the water, because fluoride is metallic, and anything that has metal or anything that can be used as a metallic is also used for brain control. So that right there, the first one is a QAnon conspiracy. The second one, stop taking birth control. The reason why we don't want to take birth control in the QAnon MAGA world is because it is turning women into men and making men into women, right? And that's how the big government, birth control, because it changes your hormones, right? Like you don't know what's in there. It's changing your hormones and it's turning you into a man, because if you can't give birth, you're just an old white man because he can't give birth either, right? So like, don't do that. Then the don't go to college thing, that takes me back to when I was a Jehovah's Witness. That's right out of evangelical Christian viewpoints, because the new world that God makes after Armageddon, we're not going to need engineers, because we're not going to need doctors. We're going to need carpenters to build.
Everybody's going to be hunter gatherers.
Exactly. Like you need your seed pouch and your hatchet. Like you don't need to go to school and understand like physics or psychology. No, everything's going to be perfect. You just need to know how to use a hammer, and kill stuff with a hatchet.
Seed pouch.
Yeah, so like again, there's our evangelical right-wing thought process. Stop trusting the experts. This goes across every conspiracy theory. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care if it's from flat Earth to ant people to hollow Earth theory. All of these theories, the number one thing they say is you can't trust the experts. And why can't we trust the experts? Because the experts want to lie to you. There's always some grander conspiracy. They don't want you to know that the world is round because that's how they control you. They don't want you to know that we never went to the moon because that's how they control you. They don't want you to know that there's really ant people living in the center of the earth that are giving information to the CIA for us to have iPhones because reasons. Okay. Exactly. These are all conspiracy theories. And it's like, what? When you really break that shit down, you're like, what the fuck are you telling me, homie? I'm sorry. I just had to break that down real quick.
No, thank you, because I didn't know that was QAnon. I don't look up I'm not too familiar with the whole QAnon stuff. I just know they're insane. But
yes, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. It's all the conspiracy wrapped up. Yeah, fuck you, BGLA.
Experts. And then being married has taught me so much. How to serve, how to submit, how to listen, how to shut up. I've never been smarter in my entire life. If only the self-proclaimed girl bosses understood this. Women need men and have so much to learn from them.
I'm sorry. I hit the one.
Hit the one?
Okay. There's a guy that we watched I sent you the video. The guy that goes over Umar Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
So he says that when he's like, y'all remember when this happened? Hit the one.
Hit the one. Yeah. That's how he gets his chat engaged. I'm not even gonna lie. Okay, got you.
So it's funny to me when this is like when women say this type of shit because I spent the last week, 2 of those days, I engaged with men who knew some shit. Midwest, BGTV, we talked about the politics and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then a man who didn't know shit. No offense
a man who
to
speaks
your
on
mama, but offense to you.
Yeah, he's Mr. Ad hom, Mr. Misinformation, Mr. Daddy Warbuck cocksucker. That guy, that dude. Okay,
we all know your mama needs.
Bring that book.
But anyway,
yeah, your mama needs to read a book, and I have some books for him to read. And I would honestly say the first thing that your mama needs to read is the Federalist Papers. Those are the first things he needs to read. Those are written by our forefathers, and they very much so in detail describe the separation of church and state and why it is so fucking important. It was written by our forefathers, mother. You know what I mean? No nigga was writing this. This is a bunch of white men, American whites. I know you love them. Love the Massa. Massa wrote it. And he literally told us we should have no intersection of church and state. But, you know, let the coon do his coon thing, you know.
So I've spoke to both, right? And I'm of the belief that just because you got a dick swinging between your legs, it doesn't mean you know shit. Like, you could be just as dumb as any other, you know, person. So I don't understand this idea that I'm going to follow this person simply because of their reproductive organ. That's insane to me.
Well, that's your problem. And I think it's because your parents taught you critical thinking skills. And I'm going to help you out real quick. Okay, so as a woman, Nova, you have a uterus. Okay, and I don't know if you know this, but a uterus has a tendency to roam around a woman's body. And when it roams around her body, it causes hysteria. Look it up. This is where hysteria comes from. And when a woman is suffering from hysteria, she can't think straight. So we need.
That's right. You're right.
You know what I mean? And it's up to a penis, a cock and balls.
Slap the sense into us?
Exactly. The twig and berries is the only thing that can cause us to come back to reality. And it usually takes a good fucking. Some would call it grape, but that's what happens. Like, a woman needs to be
tomato, I guess.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Nova, you are infected with a with a disease. Remember I told you about this disease that happens to women, and it's because that's what makes them feminist. And really, any woman who has an orgasm is turning into a man, because women aren't supposed to have orgasms. Only men have orgasms. I learned this in the right wing.
That's crazy, because I have heard that too. Yes.
Yeah. Only men can have orgasms, and every time a woman has one, she's becoming a man. And that's what's causing all of these weird feminist ideas in women. Like, why do you think you deserve to be able to say anything, Nova? Because a real woman, wouldn't be online. And I just want you to know, the fact that you're online and you started this stream to voice your opinion shows just how much of a man you really are. So
but that's also the funny thing. Like, all these women that preach this shit, right, about submission and your places in the kitchen. These bitches be online and making videos.
Pearly Gates got the worst of it. She's finally realizing that don't nobody like your pick me ass.
Nobody want that bitch.
Just because you're saying the things that these niggas are saying doesn't mean they want to fuck with your 35-year-old ugly big built back ass. Nobody wants you, bitch. Looking like a whole Chucky doll come to life. She looks like a character from a Stephen King's novel. I swear to God. Like, what the fuck?
No, yeah, don't nobody want her. Everything she tries to check off all the boxes.
She does look like Randall from Reset. Oh my god, not Randall from Reset. She does though. She really does. We got to do a. Can somebody make a side by side of her and Randall just so we can look at it? Oh my God.
Why did the welfare system become necessary? Says Ani. Too many submissive women had their men leave, left them with kids, bills, etc., and no jobs, no job skills, no income. Exactly. Yeah, I know, right? That's the thing. Like, all these women that be talking all this shit, unless they're married to an absolute asshole, they're single. Some of these women that's talking about all this, whatever. I'm like, well, if you got the secret sauce, then why you ain't?
Well, and then when you go on TikTok, Well, the thing is that when you go on TikTok and you look up ex trad wife, you hear the horror stories of women who are now in their 30s and 40s. Their husband has left them. They don't have any work skills. They haven't
I
worked
made a
for
video
15,
about it.
20
Yeah.
years, you know, and that's the reality. When you give someone all the power in your life, you're left very vulnerable. And why would anyone want you to be vulnerable if not to take advantage of you? Right. And I think it's just,
Mhm.
there's the logic that's lost. You know, why would any man,
Exactly.
if a man really loved you, if your spouse, let's stop talking about men and women. If your
Spouse, yeah.
spouse cared about you enough, they're going to want you to be self-sufficient. They're going to want you to be able to take care of yourself if they die, if anything happens. But it takes a
Mhm.
very big narcissist. It takes someone who has put themselves in a position of power to tell you, you don't need to know anything. You just need to do what
That's
I say.
insane. That's
It
crazy
is.
to me.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. Like having been, yeah, that's insane to me. I just had a similar conversation with someone recently. He was telling me, like, y'all done so bought into this whole independent woman thing, and I'm like, what? And then I was talking to my homegirl, and she was like, what you mean bought into it? Some of us just was shoved into it, and then when we got there, we were like, oh, I like it here.
Exactly. Like I had to be. I had to be
independent. I ain't had no choice. I was a single mother at 20,
Yeah.
24, no, 25.
Hashtag
26.
renegade. You know what I mean? Like you had to.
We had to do what we had to do. And then now I've been a single mom for like over a decade. Like there's not much. I've been holding shit down on, his father's
really
there, obviously, but I've been holding shit down on my own. Like, what are you gonna tell me? What are you gonna tell me on how to conduct myself, on how to do things, on how to pay bills?
Here's the thing: the right would say, as a single mother raising a son, you are raising a transgender boy. He is going to be. He's gay.
They would say that.
Yeah, you're raising him to be gay. You just want him to transition so that you can be liberal because that's what you
hilarious.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because
a single mom can't raise a boy. That's not possible at all ever. It's never happened in history that a single woman has raised a straight man. Ever.
And if you see my son, he's a boy's boy, if you will. Like, the way that they
I seen him
plays basketball. He does. Yeah.
He thinks he's something special. I heard him in the background. He on his nigga smelling himself all day.
Got a girlfriend, but okay, I guess. I mean, and look, and if I was a single mom and I was raising a boy who turned out to be gay or trans or whatever, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, then we got to help them get through that. But it's not the worst thing that can happen. It's just the reality. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest. I'm more worried about my sons and murderers than I am about them sucking dick. If one of my godsons or my children came to me and said, look, mom, I really like butt stuff. Cool beans. I don't know why you're telling me, but cool beans.
I don't want to
I don't want to know.
Right.
But what else? It's fine.
Right.
I love you.
It's fine. Right. That would be a bigger that for me is what I'm afraid of. My kid turning into this heinous individual.
Being
like, okay, then I'd be ashamed. Right.
Exactly. But you being gay or being like, look, I don't want this penis. This is not my penis. I don't need it. I don't want it. It's not who I am. Cool being. If my child came to me and said, look, if one of my sons came to me and said, look, mom, my name is Rebecca now, and I'm transitioning, I am all for that. Cool beans. Let's go. What do we need
I'd be like, Rebecca is the name you chose?
No, exactly. No. Like, can we pick a better name? That would be the conversation we would have. It's like, can we pick a better name? Because let's go for a better name.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is that open for
Like, I don't care that you're trans. Let's talk about the name choice. Hold on. You a bad bitch. Let's talk about this. That's not a bad bitch name.
Bad bitch name ain't Rebecca. Let's get this together. Are you serious right now? You're not about to.
That's where the shame comes in.
Like, embarrass me with that name.
Exactly. Embarrass the fuck out of me. My baby done turned trans and picked the worst name in the book. What?
Barrels butt stuff. Miss Parker will reply, "Well, let me give you some points."
Exactly. Let me help you out. Do you know about the Astroglide? What about the butt butter, baby? Let me help you out. Let's get this together. Let's do it right. You're gonna be the best at it. I know that.
Right.
You know, the only thing I agree with there is women need men like men need women. We all need each other. Okay. I want us all to rely on one another. But I have to say, this is sort of your typical ultra, I guess the term they like to describe them as, or themselves as, is traditional, but super misogynistic, sort of advocating on behalf of moving us back. Any progress we've made, especially on gender related issues, gender equality, let's just roll back the clock on that. And with people as the ones that we're looking at here, sometimes I wonder if this is sort of a grift. They know that young content creators espousing these sort of provocative things will get a lot of attention and will get clicks and all of that. And maybe there's more of a performative aspect to it. But people really do hold these views. One of the things we're going to look at in this segment is them responding to that kicker, Butker, Harrison. Let's see, Harrison Butker, yeah, who delivered the speech that was controversial because of the misogyny and all the wild things that he was saying. And so we'll get into a lot, but I know there's genuinely held views here. The length or the extent of them and how they're expressing it might be a little bit performative. But here's another moment where he's, well, you'll see.
What are you saying?
How do you respect a man who's going to go cry on stage about you?
He didn't cry. His voice cracked. He was getting emotional.
Okay, maybe
if that was me, that means you cheat on me?
No.
That means you're cheating?
No.
Shut up. You're so stupid. That is ridiculous.
No,
quiet. Thank you.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, listen, somebody tells me to shut up. I'm not going to shut up. And I think maybe that's the 2-year-old in me because I'm still going through my terrible twos. But like, if you tell me not to knock something over on the counter, I'm gonna do it, right? Like,
the shit over.
Exactly. Like, I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. My old man right now will tell me, no, don't tickle me. But you know what I'm about to do though? I'm about to fuck you up. Like, that's what's happening right now.
Look, and don't get me wrong. So, like, well, that was just straight up disrespectful, right? But there's like, I was trying to get to a specific store around here, right? That I wanted to get to. My man is at work, so he can't take me. So I'm like, fuck, I'm just gonna walk, right? Being from New York, that's what we do. We walk everywhere.
Not a big deal, exactly.
So I get up, I'm like, I'm gonna walk it. He goes, babe, like, don't walk that way because it's not that safe. Like, because there's like a corner that you have to turn. There's like a highway.
And he don't want you over there.
There's nothing there. There's no sidewalk, no nothing.
Yeah.
Fuck, I got this shit. Don't even talk.
I'm a fucking gangster. Yeah.
He's like, what you gonna do today? I'm like, I think I'm gonna go to the store. He's like, all right. So I get to the corner and then I'm trying to cross. A car coming from one end, a car coming from another way. Holy shit, he was right.
I'm about to die. Yeah, I'm about to die. The nigga was right. Oh no. But the fact, I think I love this story because you're like, I'm still doing it though. Like, I'm gonna do it up until I find out for myself that I can't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like,
then I'll be like, well, I told him afterwards, I said, you was right. That fucking guy almost died out there. He was like, you good now? I said, I'm fine, but I'm going to choose another way to go next time.
Yeah. Got to readjust the route. Right? And it's like, that is insane. But if you were dealing with a man that we're watching, right? Like, so say you're dating this young man that we're watching. Say we're both 20 years younger and we're dating this young idiot. He wouldn't let us out the house, right? Like,
Exactly. That shit is abuse, man. You were getting abused.
That's fucked up. Burrow says she ran into traffic. Wow, how Mexican of her.
I was bucking it too. I was on the phone with BGL. I was like, holy shit, I gotta run.
Playing Frogger out there on the fucking in the intersection playing Frogger.
Yo, and then when I had to come back, I had to strategize that shit because there's no sidewalk. I was like, this is terrible.
Jesus. Yes. I wasn't prepared for this. I should have listened to this nigga. But and it's so crazy because they say that, and that's the curse of being a feminist, right? Like that's the gene that has toxified your brain. You are affected by this feminist gene that makes you think you know better than a man, but your man knew better and he was trying to save you. This is why we're supposed to submit.
But you know what though? He didn't know better simply because he's a man. He knew better because he lived here. And that's because he lives here. And that's what that I think that's the reality. You know what I mean? Like if he was just saying don't go because I know better than you, then we'd have a problem. But he was like, I know that corner.
Like I know the logic. Yeah, please, I love you and I don't want to see you get hit by a car. And I think the problem is, Nova, is that you're arguing for rationality. And there is no rationality here.
No,
it's the fact that he has twigs and berries. And he has a twig and berries, and you
a
don't.
seed pouch.
Exactly. And you forget that male nipples are for navigation. So we're supposed to trust men and their nipple navigation. So you failed. You failed as a woman. You know, how dare you?
It must be why I'm a single mother and, you know, have nobody that wants to, you know, be my husband. You know what I mean? Like I'm completely out here alone, apparently.
Well, you hit the wall a while ago. Let me rank you real quick. Let's go ahead and rank you based on Kevin Samuels.
After I hit the wall.
How tall are you?
5'3".
How much do you weigh?
Enough.
What's your body count?
Not enough. I don't feel like I've really lived up to my potential. Nah.
Somewhere between 0 and 1,000. Not enough, right? Okay, cool. How many kids do you have?
One.
And how old are you?
38.
Okay, babe, you hit the wall like 4 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
I hit the wall a long time ago.
And nobody wants you.
I'm cooked.
Yeah, nobody wants you.
And amazingly, I found a person I'm with after I hit the wall. Ain't that some shit? As a single mom.
He's a cuck, though. In the views, exactly. Like he's a beta male cuck. That's what he's a yeah. Don't tell him that.
The internet has decided you're a cuck. No, I'm like, he would just look at me and just laugh. Like, no, he knows I watch this shit.
I would love to listen to the audio of you just waiting for him to come home and be like, babe, the internet decided you're a cuck.
You're a beta. He'd be like, because he hates all this red pill shit. He thinks it's the dumbest shit ever. These red pill guys are dumb. He thinks MAGA guys. Yeah. He just thinks it's so stupid. So he would laugh his ass. He's like, oh, really? All right, good for them.
What is this? Again, some people.
What's up, Miss Rain, Seattle?
Watch videos where we talk about the things we talk about in the rational way that we talk about them. Some people watch videos like this and think, yes, we need to go back to a better time where that's how a woman was spoken to or something. Goodness gracious. Now, I will say a lot of this is premised on the Bible, right? He referenced that, and you'll hear it more, and sort of this is the way, the roles that we were supposed to have, and you're supposed to submit to me as my wife. And I'll say if your only lesson from the Bible is that women should be verbally and physically abused, I think you're reading the Bible wrong. And it is weird seeing these people who proclaim to be avid readers of and followers of scripture, and they're very particular in the scripture that they hyperfixate on. Just so happens to serve perfectly their own
no offense to him,
ambitions and their own sort of
but we got to
principles when it comes to their own misogyny, essentially, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Then here, so one of the things about this Harrison Butker speech was that he had misogynistic things to express. And here, it wasn't enough for these two.
I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother.
Her vocation. I'm on the stage
today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success
Look at her face.
Because a girl I met in band class back in middle school.
Yeah, she doesn't know how to emote. because
Yeah.
he
Same.
doesn't know
To the
what he's
faith.
gonna
She
want.
doesn't know
Yeah.
what's right or wrong. How am I
Yeah.
supposed to
Embrace one of the
deal
most
with it?
important titles of all.
Yeah,
You didn't tell me.
Let's go. Let's go. Yes. This is the country we need.
Okay, pause. I want you to pause really quick.
Gosh.
The look on her
There you go.
face,
Mhm.
the look on her face says it all. She sees these scenes. What was the name? What's the name of that show? Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah. Mhm.
And she's seeing these scenes from Handmaid's Tale, and she's kind of chuckling. You can see like there's a little smirk on her face, and it feels like cognitive dissonance. Like, yeah, this is the life that I'm living, but it's a good life, right? And
Uh-huh.
it's so strange. So I like the way they edited the video that they're watching, at least the video edit that they're watching. And it
Mhm.
it really emphasizes that that's what this man is talking about. He's talking about having
Yes.
complete control and submission of women. If you watch The Handmaid's Tale, which is an amazing show,
It's a
oh my
really
God,
good show. It
oh my
really
God,
is.
such a great show. But it really helps to show you where this goes. When people control your
Yes.
reproductive rights, this is how far it goes. It took it to the most extreme level possible. And yes, sci-fi is and I think a lot of people forget, science fiction is always based in science fact. So when we're looking at science fiction of a post-apocalyptic world, or a world like we see in the Stepford Wives, or even in the show that we're seeing here, you see that this is where people go. Even in X-Men, when you watch, if you're an X-Men fan, and I know you don't know much about comic books, but they lean heavy on the sci-fi, but they also lean heavy on the social justice issues of the time. And that's where you get the most, media reaction. Like, that's where people really learn to connect to it, because you see, oh my God, this is my life. This is where it could go. This is what it could be. And I think it puts us in a place. That's why I love media, especially like music, movies, television. It helps us explore ideas that are very uncomfortable. And Handmaid's Tale really allows you to explore a very uncomfortable reality that's not too far off from what they're proposing in the 2025 paperwork.
And what was that? What was the motivating force behind, or at least the underlying how do you call sentiment, was religion. It was all religion. That was how they justified everything in The Handmaid's Tale. This is a very good show. Very good show, man. I think there's another season that I have not caught up on, but I've seen almost every
The new
season.
one just dropped. I'm excited to see it.
Oh, did it? Okay.
I believe it just dropped. And I, like I said, I'm super excited. I'm super excited to see it. I found it to be an interesting exploration
we should
of
watch those and put it on Patreon.
I would love to do that with you, because it
That would
really
be
does give
fun.
you a lot of talking points. You see the subjugation of women and how they're used as mares. That's ultimately what it is. Like, you have women and women who cannot give birth, their husbands take them on. And this is something that's taken like literally straight from the Bible. If you look at the Bible and you look at people, some of our more famous or more, affluent figures in the Bible, you see that they had to take on what we call concubines. They're servants, and they would have children with their servants or their concubines. And the way that these women are described is their property, right? These are just property, and you use them as facilities to deal with whatever problem you're dealing with. Sarah literally told her husband to go have sex with the concubine so that he can have a child. It's absolutely insane. So I love how media kind of throws us in that. We see it too in I don't know if you've watched The Boys.
No, BGTV was telling me about it. I still have yet to watch it.
The Boys is amazing. So for those of you who've watched The Boys, you know what I'm talking about. The Boys literally is superimposed on the 2016 election. Like, it is. It everything about it, all the characters, their motivations, what they're doing in America, the president, the conversations that are had. It has a lot to do with this MAGA evangelical Nazi rhetoric that were and they just took it to the most extreme. It is what X-Men was for us in the late 80s, early 90s. And they just they ramped it up.
That.
It's absolutely
then, yeah.
I would love that's one I would do with you on Discord. Like before Handmaid's Tale, I would say let's do
we could do that and throw it up on like Patreon or whatever. We could figure out a way.
Twitch or something like that.
Because you know, with Patreon, you can upload entire videos now. There's no limit.
I know. We might have to do that for Patreon because I think that's where the conversation is, and it really takes it to the most extreme. Like, this is what happens when we don't delegate. This is what happens when we don't trust democracy. This is what happens.
I got an idea. I got an idea. Yeah, I'll let you know what the idea is. I got an idea. I think we could do that. That might be fun to do. So, look out for that on Patreon. Well, Miss Parker has a Patreon, so do I.
It'll go both Patreon.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I wanted to see that. BGTV was telling me about it. I was like, I gotta watch it. I just haven't had the chance to watch it yet, but I'm gonna have to.
There's a lot of racial undertones too, because you have a black man by the name of Mother's Milk. And my new old man, he pointed out that Mother's Milk gets put in these situations that demasculate him at every turn. And it's interesting that our black straight character gets put into these situations, and then we see our fluid sexuality characters. Like there's a guy called he's Frenchie, and he's fluid sexually. He's bisexual. He's been with men and women, but he doesn't get put in these situations where men are violating him, as opposed to our straight black man who is constantly put in these situations where his masculinity is challenged. And it's interesting, like all of the undertones of the show really give you pause and give you something to talk about or really think about. And I think that's what good media does. Good media gives you something to sit back and talk about with your friends and open up a very uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah, and it makes it digestible. Like you're watching it, and then because even if you look at the look on her face, absolutely. What you mentioned earlier, it was when he said that's the country. Matter of fact, let me bring it back because I thought look at her face.
Look at her face. Exactly. She's like, kind of there's the cognitive dissonance is on her face. She's literally in real time looking at this and like, wow, is that the comparison? Because she's obviously familiar with the show. You know what I mean? So
when he said that's the country we want, she's like,
exactly.
What a lot of these young women don't realize is that this is the country they want. These type of guys that believe that way, this is what they want, because then it gives them dominion. They don't have to do any work emotionally. They don't have to make sure that they're actually a good partner as long as they're putting food on the table.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Let's go. Look, she's like, wait, what?
Like, why are they showing this? Why is this relevant? She's really confused with that.
Yes. This is the country we need. Oh my.
Look, he was like, wait, what?
She's nervous.
I didn't even see the speech. Yeah. That's my first time seeing it.
Same.
And this is what's got everybody all pissed off?
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous.
Obviously, and what he's saying is correct.
And there were also other parts of the speech.
Women.
What he's saying is not correct. That's what that's why that's also like stupid, because he's one of, he's a great NFL player because of his wife.
Oh yeah, well that part's stupid.
Yeah, bro, come on. You're gonna give your credit to your wife, like, yeah, she's a helper, and it seems like she's a great helper. But she doesn't deserve.
Oh, he's gonna learn the hard way.
She doesn't even deserve credit.
Can't even get the credit. Yeah.
Well, that's even more extreme than what you see on the evangelical right. Because on the evangelical right, the men who do appreciate a subservient wife give credit to their wives because they feel like there's a verse in the Bible that says, "Love your wife like you love Jesus," right? And or like you love the Lord. And so men who subscribe to that particular verse feel that, yes, behind every strong man is a strong woman, and they give their women credit. This young man has obfuscated that. And he's like, no, she doesn't deserve any credit. Right. Only God deserves credit because I'm so in love with Jesus and his penis that your vagina means nothing. And I think
it's also just a scapegoat, because it's really like, you just don't like women because
Absolutely. No respect for
Yeah,
women at all.
just don't like women. Don't have any respect for women because, and he'll learn as he gets older. He at some point, because I think they're in their early 20s, he'll learn how valuable peace is. No matter who brings it to you. In this case, is the
Yeah.
man talking, and his wife was, held him down, whatever the case may be. But it could be the other way around, where the woman is out getting to it, and the man is like, maybe he has like either a regular job or maybe he's
like
just
Kamala
mad.
Harris is our first man. Let me explain something to you. The first gentleman is so debonair. I'm so excited about the first gentleman. The Kamala Harris's husband, he is an intelligent man. He's always taken the back seat to his wife, not because he's incompetent, but because he saw the greatness in his wife. He has always supported her, even though he came into the marriage with 2 children. He has always supported his wife, and they have been lock in step for, I want to say, at least 25 years now.
Ooh.
And when we see that, I think a lot of people look at that man and they're going to, especially from this particular evangelical right misogynistic viewpoint, they're going to say that he's a cuck. He's a beta male. He's all this shit. At the end of the day, this man has raised his children, held down a relationship, dealt with the politics of her being a prosecutor, her being in the House, her being the vice president. That man is one of the strongest men I have ever encountered in my life. You know what I mean? And he has yet to really sit down and do an interview. And I can't wait until she's the president and we see what the first gentleman has on his docket. Because something that's like, I think a lot of people don't realize, like the spouse of the president gets to have a campaign, gets to have an initiative. And I'm so excited to see what the first gentleman picks.
I wonder what it will be, right?
Yeah,
because this is the first time we'll see that too. A first gentleman.
Nancy Reagan decided to fight drugs. It ended horribly. Barack Obama with his spouse Michelle Obama, she decided to fight against obesity, and she was like, get up and move. That was her thing. And then we saw Trump and Ivanka didn't have anything. She literally just copycatted Michelle. And so to watch the first man vice president, I think
that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, the first, and he's not the vice president, he's the spouse of the president. And I think it's just an interesting place to see what he's going to do, because again, he's a divorcee, he is an everyman, he doesn't have any scandals attached to him whatsoever. He's been with his wife, who's biracial, for the last 25-30 years. He has supported her through all of her political endeavors, and I'm just so excited. Like and maybe it's because I'm working for the Harris campaign, but I'm just so excited to see like where that goes.
It's exciting to see. Like, I mean, I know just the idea of a woman being a president is like, whoa, gee, I didn't think that would happen in
my lifetime.
Yeah.
No. I cried when Barack Obama was elected president. Like I cried the night he was elected, and when he did his acceptance speech, I fucking bawled my eyes out. When he was sworn in as president, I cried my fucking eyes out. When Barack Obama chose a Black woman to be his running mate, I cried my eyes out. You know what I mean? And I'm so excited to see a Black woman. And I know in the title it says how Black is Kamala, so we're gonna get to that. But it brought me so much joy, because I'm looking at my young Black godchildren, girls and boys, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, wow, you guys don't even realize how different this is. You don't even realize
compared to when we were coming up.
Yeah, because it was just old white men, right? Like when you go to school, when we went to school and we learned about the presidents, it was just old white men. Charles Darwin was old white men. I am so tired of old white men determining what is right and what is wrong in this country. And it's so nice to see young Black faces become the forefront. It's amazing.
Yeah. Apartment wife said, I hope he still does all the first lady stuff, like picking the china and decorating Christmas. That would be hilarious and very endearing if he did. I think so. Wait, who's going to be Kamala's vice president? Oh, Tim Walz.
Tim Walz. He's a military veteran. He was a high school coach. He was a high school teacher. He's had 25 years in the military. He served, I believe, over 15 years in Congress, and he's the mayor of a city. No, the what is he?
Minnesota governor.
The governor of Minnesota. He's an amazing progressive person. For those of you who are just joining us,
I didn't even know about him, but I just knew Minnesota had some like really good like social programs and stuff, and I knew that they were a bit progressive in certain ways. So
yeah,
before I chose Michigan to move to, Minnesota was one of the places I was looking at.
It's amazing. Minnesota's
pretty good, yeah.
Dude, they're up there with Colorado. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to school and when it comes
Vermont
to
is up
equity,
there too. Yeah.
Like they really are doing some amazing stuff that he made sure that marijuana was legal. He made sure that the schools made sure that all the children had meals at breakfast and lunch. He helped to make sure that the kids who went to college in his state were able to get allowances and kickbacks. Like he is all about the youth. He is all about the future. Again, he's a coach. If you listen to his speech, and I don't know if we're going to get to that, but if we get a chance to listen to his speech and just listen to how he speaks, oh my God, he's amazing.
He looks like a jolly old guy.
I was brought to tears. He's a coach. I don't see him as a jolly old man. I see him as a football coach. Like he really
looks like one. Yeah, he just looks like one.
Like a coach. Like he knows how to rally you up. Like I feel like when I was listening to that speech that I was in the fourth quarter of a game and we had to win. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, like I feel like I was in the locker room. There was so much.
So part of my wife said his speech made me want to win a championship.
Exactly. Like I just wanted to. Yeah, Minnesota is beautiful. It's one of those treasures of America. If you get a chance to check out Minnesota, it's absolutely.
And come to find out, there's a lot of companies that have their headquarters in Minnesota, and so like, there's also a lot of job opportunity, and they're like leading in cancer research too, something like that. Michigan is also up there with the cancer treatment and all that, but I was like, wow, like holy shit, I didn't know all of this about Minnesota. It's really.
And he's been speaking out against Trump for the last 8 years. And I think they're right now we're starting to see circulation of his old clips of how he was like calling out a lot of this weird rhetoric. He's the one who coined calling JD Vance and Trump weird. He did that a year ago. He's the first one to start saying, you know what, they're just weird. This is weird. Yeah. So it's so interesting that JD Vance is like trying to compare himself to Walz, when JD Vance was a higher ranking in the military, when JD Vance was a teacher and a coach.
You mean Walz?
Yeah, Walz. Walz was a teacher and a coach. He was higher in the military, sergeant major. And then you look at JD Vance's record, and JD Vance was in the military, but he worked in the advertisement facility. Not knocking that. I don't want to like make it seem like people who work in the military aren't worthy, because you definitely served your time. But you're talking about a sergeant major versus somebody who made propaganda. You're talking about somebody who spent 20 years shaping young minds and helping them feel good about themselves versus somebody who wrote a book shitting on the Midwest. You're talking about somebody who cares about education and somebody who blames, the United States for, it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy.
Vance looks like he fit in a high school lock.
Yeah, he does. He's definitely the kid who got swirlied.
Walz renamed the highway Prince Rogers Nelson Highway and in purple ink. Thank you very much. Whoa, really? That's kind of dope.
Interesting.
That's dope.
I think Walz is the guy. Like that. There was no better pick than Walz. I was rooting for him in the beginning. And like I was so happy when she chose him. I know that I know that there were a few other people that she was looking at, but I'm so happy she chose Walz.
He seems to have been the best pick. Marty, leave him alone. He's figuring it out. Look, we're almost done with this video because I don't think much more happens.
Okay, all of the credit obviously goes to God for giving you these talents, and you entered it.
So it was going too far to say that the success in his life he's partly attributing to the help of his wife and the people here, the Moody's, are moody about. Sorry, that's just low hanging fruit. How can I not go for that? Are moody about the fact that he was willing to give credit. Isn't he so thoughtful? Too thoughtful, frankly, for saying that she might have played a part in his success. And then we move on to something else. I know what you're thinking, right? We've talked a lot about how the threats currently that are posed to democracy, in a sense, could cause the downfall of democracy. Well, some people think the downfall of society will happen, not because of people not accepting election results, trying to overthrow our electoral process, not because of nukes or something to that effect, Kim Jong-un getting a little fast and loose with his nuclear arsenal. No, instead, it's women. That's going to be why society collapses, according to these people. Don't clip that.
I think it's women. I think we're always bringing the blame back to men, but most women vote just because women had the opportunity to leave their husbands. They didn't have to pick it. And I think we're ultimately responsible for the downfall of society. Most men have very little to no political power other than one vote.
Isn't it then fair to say it's actually men's fault for allowing women to do these things in the first place?
Okay, so wait. I want to actually break that down. So, okay, you go get married. Let's just say tomorrow you find your chick, you get married. And then she says, I want to leave you. And I want to take half your business and your stuff. What do you do? No, don't do it. Well, no, I really want to. No, please don't. Let me go leave.
But my point was pre-women's suffrage. It was men, it's patriarchy. Mm-hmm. And then the men go, I had an idea. Let's divide power amongst women.
Yeah.
Couldn't you then blame men for being weak?
Fine. Maybe 100 years ago, sure. But I'm saying any person born today or in the last 50, most men didn't have anything to do with that. Like, you weren't alive. You were.
You know what's funny? Like, I often hear, like, listening to Red Pill stuff and all that, I often hear about, like, alimony is a huge, like, contentious topic among Red Pill people, right? All these fucking women are going for every guy's alimony. And I was looking up the stats, and I think I have to look it up again, but I think it was like 10%. It was a very low percentage of divorced couples actually even deal with like any sort of alimony. Like, very small percentage. Alimony is not really a huge deal anymore because, I mean, when they're talking about this alimony, they're talking about men who have businesses or men who have like money, like a lot of money. The average Joe doesn't really have much for alimony. Like, they just don't. So this idea, now child support is a different story, but then that's also if you have kids with someone, how can you not expect to help to provide for them even if y'all break up? That's insane to think that you just get to leave and those kids are left with now having to, whether if there was in after school programs, if there was in any sort of like anything that cost a lot of money or just the regular day-to-day expense of children, to think that now you only will rely on one income, or if the woman was never working, no income, and now she has to go find a job with very little job skills. That's insane to think you're going to get divorced and not take care of them kids. But alimony itself is not a huge, not many people deal with it because not many people making enough money to even like explore the idea of alimony. You know what I mean?
My first marriage, let me tell you. Okay, listen. Okay, I've been married technically one time. Common law married once, but one time, right? And during my first marriage, I was married to a military man. Alimony. Okay, military alimony is delicious. Let me explain something to y'all.
Military alimony, yeah. No, but delicious. Okay, go.
When it comes to like a woman on the street, say like you're just a civilian marrying another civilian, it's exceptionally hard to deal with. It's exceptionally hard. The military is going to make sure that you have like the bare minimum. I'm not going to make it seem like, oh my God, it's like above and beyond, but it's like the bare minimum. And I think, when it comes to alimony, we're supposed to make sure that if a spouse, no matter if that spouse is male, female, trans, I don't care, is taken care of. If I've spent 10, 15 years in this relationship, I'm not working, I'm taking care of the kids, I'm the at-home person, then yes, there needs to be some type of assistance. I don't know how else you justify that. Right? Because you're making someone completely disabled. You're forcing them to stay in a relationship that could be violent, toxic, emotionally disturbing. It could be abusive to the children. if you force someone, if you don't allow them to have that type of alimony. And it sucks. It puts people in positions of power to take advantage of people who don't have that same position.
Even with, according to Reuters, only about 10% of divorce cases involve alimony in the United States.
Yeah, because most people don't have that kind of money.
Exactly. And so when these regular Joe Schmo people are like, oh, she's going to take all your money. Ma'am, he makes what? $50,000-$60,000 a year? What money?
The courts won't even. Yeah.
You're arguing a rich man's argument on a regular salary. It is not the same reality.
It's the Coors Light argument on the champagne diet. Exactly. Right? Like you're doing too much.
Yeah, exactly. Ms. Rain Seattle said, my daughter has never gotten a dime of support in 15 years. His baseball fees alone are over $1,000 a month. That beats suck. Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Baseball is no joke. When it in terms of the equipment, oh my god.
Football is up there. Listen.
Yes, football is up there too.
Oh fuck. I almost broke. We was eating nothing but ramen and oodles and noodles. Mm-hmm. When my oldest son was like, I want to play football. I'm like, are you sure? Is that sure?
Their hobbies are not cheap. Their hobbies are not cheap at all. My kid is now into music and stuff. He's been making music, and he's actually very good at it. So,
because the instrument determines how expensive it is. Because if he's not like a triangle, it's not that bad. But if he's playing like an oboe or a cello, the motherfuckers are expensive.
Yeah, those are expensive. He's not playing music. He's into like rapping and all that. So,
okay.
His own stuff, and he does it all on his phone, and he's actually really good at it.
One of my godkids does that, and he only needs like $30-$40 a month for his little program to make beats.
Well, now I'm like, all right, well, fuck it, I'm gonna get you a microphone, I'm gonna get you, so that
you can actually get him all set up,
so you can actually put some more into it, because he does well just with his phone. I'm like, shit,
might as well invest. And I think
I wonder what you're gonna do with more.
When you think about that, Chris, you're a single mom. I was a single mom. You're a single mom. As a single mom, when you're raising a child, you try to invest physical money in what they do, right? Like, I don't care what it is your kid's doing. If they're in gymnastics, if they're football, like you said, music for your little guy, no matter what it is, it's going to cost money. And what happens is when we're talking about people in low income areas, if you're raising the taxes on them, if you're changing the demographics of the school system, you're affecting those children. You're literally affecting those children. And Kamala Harris represents a group of children. Now, this is what's so crazy about Kamala Harris and her and Biden's connection. Biden helped to vote into law a program that allowed children to go to schools outside of their district, right? Kamala Harris's parents capitalized on that law and sent her to better schools outside of her district. She was able to monopolize on something that was made for the betterment of all of us. And now look at her, she's running for president. If it wasn't for the progressive Democratic laws that were put into place when she was a child, she wouldn't be in a position that she's in right now. And I think it's something that, like, it's a full circle kind of thing. When government invests in low income housing, when government invests in low income situations, when government takes the time to take care of the least among us, we find the best among us. They come from, I think Tupac had said it, in one of his songs, he was like, the rose from the concrete, these beautiful flowers come out of the most horrible places. And that's what makes a country great. When you say, let's make America great again, well, that means let's invest in the low income areas. Let's invest in those kids and those students who have the most promise. That's what equal opportunity is. That's what equity is. It's allowing those people who may not be looked at to be seen, because sometimes they're the best among us. If it wasn't for the young Black women who are working with NASA, the equations to get to the moon probably wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't happen. Have you ever tried explaining equity to a dummy?
I have, and it never works.
It's very.
It never works. Like, they don't understand what equity means.
I've done it a few times. It's so hard. I'm like, I don't get why you don't understand this. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Ani, yes. I think Tupac might have been referencing the rose in Spanish Harlem. I don't know which one comes first, but it's the same sentiment for sure. It's definitely the same sentiment that something beautiful can come from something that's so oppressive and so ugly and so disgusting. But out of that comes something so beautiful. And that's where we find sometimes some of our largest voices, some of our most powerful leaders come from, tragedy, and they find a way through it. And I think it's something that we have to embody in all aspects of this world, not just in our presidency, but also in like CEOs. We watched in the early 2000s how CEOs went from being all white men to all of a sudden women were getting in the field. Women were popping up. Women are doing this. And I think diversity is our strength. And a lot of times people see that as like this fear. And it's really because the only people who are scared of diversity are people who are protected by a lack of diversity.
Yes, absolutely. There's people who operate in mediocrity and are able to excel in mediocrity simply because of what they look like, right? And then when you open it up to a more diverse pool of candidates, then their mediocrity takes them out of the game.
Absolutely.
And they never want to be taken out of the game.
Yeah.
Marty said, Nova tried explaining equity to a man in Indiana. Yes, I did. And that was
it didn't work out very well.
Unsuccessful.
It didn't work out very well. Yeah.
It's hard to explain equity to people. I don't get why it's so difficult. I think it's just more for willful ignorance.
I would argue against that. I don't think it's willful ignorance. I think
that
they
have the capacity to understand.
No, I wouldn't insult them that way, right? Like, I don't want to insult someone and be like, oh, you're fucking Cyrax. You can't think beyond this, right? Like, I don't want to say that. But what I would say is, because I come from a cult mentality, and I know you don't understand that because you're not from that cult mentality. Like, you were taught how to think critically, and you were allowed to explore thoughts as a young person. When you're not given those avenues, you're put in a box. And a lot of times when you're in the box, you think you're correct. You think that everything there is inside that box. So your whole universe is built around these parameters and these dogmatic beliefs. So I don't think that people are doing it willfully. I think it's more just ignorance on ignorance. It's just ignorance for ignorance sake. Like, you really don't know what else is going on. If you grow up in a small town, like you grew up in New York, I've traveled the country. I've talked to people who grow up in Clarksville and Clarksville, Kentucky. Like, I've talked to people in these small towns who have Nazi swastikas or the bars and stripes tattoos on their body. They're not ignorant. They're passionate about what they believe to be true, right? And
but are the two mutually exclusive? Like, you can be ignorant about something, but also passionate about what you think is the truth.
Absolutely, but willful ignorance is different.
I see what you mean. Yeah, willful
willful ignorance is knowing that you're wrong, but pursuing the argument anyway because you, as opposed to just being ignorant and not really understanding how everything works and just coming to the wrong conclusions because you haven't been presented with information to convince you otherwise. So I do think there's a distinction, and what we've seen in the last 6 months, especially the last I want to say maybe year and a half, we're starting to see a lot of MAGA people, a lot of QAnon people wake up and go, oh my God, I can't believe this is what I was saying. Oh my God, this is crazy. So I think there has to be a place where we allow those people who were just ignorant for ignorance sake, because maybe they never left their hometown. Maybe they haven't really talked to anybody about this stuff. Maybe they really don't know.
How long do we allow that though? Huh? Because how long do we allow that though? Because I feel like anyone else, right?
Yeah.
You can learn beyond what what you know intimately, right? So for instance, when when being transgender became more of a mainstream topic, right? More so by the right, because obviously it was a new boogeyman. It was a new, person to hate. But either way, when that became more of a topic, and it started to become, you saw it a little bit more, right? Because of the acceptance and society changing, and so more people felt free to be that, to be their true self. I didn't know shit about it. And admittedly, I was one of the people who I didn't hate trans people or nothing at all, but I also would have some like ignorant sort of way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like taking,
and I appreciate your honesty in that. Like, I don't know everything, so some of my ideas may have been wrong, right?
Yeah,
like
now I look in retrospect, it's like, all right, you really thought that? But then I started watching this streamer called Actual Jake, and then he had a friend that he used to do streams with who was now a transgender woman, and they would do streams, and through her transition she was streaming, and so she would talk about some of these things, here and there. And then I just started looking at other content, looking at other media that talked about it, and so I think I have a decent understanding of it. And a lot of those ignorant views I no longer have because of that understanding. So it's like it wasn't a part of my world, but I still looked for the information.
What you're negating to accept is that you were raised by people who allowed you to think for yourself, right? Like you were raised by people who gave you a different toolbox. So epistemology is the study of how we know what we know, right? Like those are the tools that we use. So you have like this little bag of tools that helps you understand, how do I know what I know? And your parents gave you one of those tools to be a critical thinker, to say, okay, well, why do I believe this? And well, where am I getting these ideas? You were able to have critical thought and be an honest interlocutor. So when you're hearing new information, you're willing and able to say, hey, well, this is wrong. Let me adjust my opinion. Right? So you were able to do that. Unfortunately, unfortunately, in the American school system, especially in red states, we're not allowed to have those thought processes. We're not even given the idea. We're not giving the tools to do that. So we're told that, hey, there's only two sexes, male and female. We're told that, hey, the only way to not get pregnant is to not have sex. We're told that if you beat your dick, you get hair on your hand and God's going to send you to hell. We're told that if you have sex with more than 3 people, you're like chewing gum and it has no more flavor. You're like a worn out shoe. These are the things that people internalize, right? So when you internalize these dogmatic false beliefs, it makes it hard to confront things as we get older. And that's why I think a lot of people are ignorant. And again, I don't say it's willful. Willful ignorance is Ben Shapiro. Willful ignorance is Candace Owens. Willful ignorance is Kanye West, right? Whereas most people fall somewhere between DeRoy Cruz and like Revelation News. Like that's where the majority of us are. Like they really don't know they're stupid. They think they're smart. Right. Everybody who's talked to them has told them that they're right, but they really don't understand how things work. And they're the Tony Chases of the world. They're the
I don't get that. I live by them. I live by the mentality: if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room. Where most people feel like, I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm winning. Right? Yeah. So there's a difference in philosophy there. And so I think there is a stark difference between willful ignorance and people who really are just convoluted in the bullshit. Like they really can't see past the rose-colored glasses that they've been
I see your point. Your point. It's more of a I see what you mean. Like it's basically it's like sending 2 people to build something. One doesn't have a toolbox at all. One has a toolbox. They both have the instructions, but one just doesn't have any tools.
Exactly.
I'm expecting them both to be able to build the same thing.
It's not going to work.
One ain't going to be able to do it. They just ain't got the tools to do it.
It's just not going to work.
They got the instructions. They got the material. There's no tools there. That's
It's
what
not
it is.
working, right? Yeah.
These people's brains are empty toolboxes.
Exactly. And that's what I mean by
and it's sad.
epistemology.
Yeah.
Epistemology is the toolbox that we use as humans to learn what is right and wrong. It is a very
Right.
important toolbox, and it's something we just don't teach children in like 12 through K. It's something we just don't teach them, like how to think for yourself, how to actually find out, like how to dig for answers, how to, evaluate yourself. Introspection is really hard for a lot of Americans to be able to look back and
like when you're wrong. Yes.
Yeah, it's like,
What
oh
the
my
fuck was I
God.
thinking?
Yeah, like that's really hard to do.
What?
It's easier to just be like, well, God told me and I'm gonna pray to God if I overstepped, and it's all good.
Me. Yeah,
exactly.
He'll lead
It's
me
easier
to the
to
right
do
way.
it's easier just to pray to God. And so it's weird. It's very weird.
That's true. Ms. Rain Seattle said, "This is why I love Nova." Well, thank you.
Oh, fuck Nova. Don't nobody
She's
like
wonderfully informed, and if she's missing a piece, she actively finds it. That's right.
He
I don't like
shit,
sounding.
though.
No, I do not like sounding stupid. I really don't. Like, it's something that I've been like since I was a kid. Like my father used to say all the time, "It's better to be thoughtful than to open your mouth and remove all doubt." And I live by that shit. I live by that. It's such a good quote.
It wasn't until like 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that I realized I was stupid. It was me listening to G-Man talk to Matt Dillahunty. And I've told this story before. Like, it's my awakening story. Like, this is the reason I'm an atheist, is I'm listening to G-Man argue why slavery is okay in and of itself because Bible. And listening to this 13-minute conversation, I realized, I was like, I don't ever want to sound that stupid.
Right.
And it put me in a place where I actively started trying to figure out, okay, what am I missing? Right? Like, what's wrong with my brain? But before then, I probably sounded just like G-Man. Probably. Like I would imagine I've made some of the same arguments that he made, defending all of these weird things, So I'm like,
It's like the other day when I was talking to your mama, I know certain things, just I know them, but I didn't have the information.
You can't really speak on it
in my head, right? So I'm like, I was like, okay, now I realize like I have to do a little bit more reading. I have to know certain things like off the top of my head, because these are things that are going to come up. These are the talking points of, people that believe this way. And so I had to go back and say, okay, I was rusty. Now I got it. What do I do to get beyond that point? Because I don't like to look stupid. And Ms. Rain Seattle said, Ms. Parker, have you ever considered doing lectures? I think you do very well with them. Your delivery lands.
Thank you so much. I have written a book, and once I publish that book, I would love to start doing lectures. Like, that is where I'm trying to break into, is having these more uncomfortable conversations and being able to talk to people who don't agree with me. Like, it's one thing to talk to Nova because she agrees with me. Like me and Nova, like we have like we do agree on a lot, and I think it gets boring after a while, right? Like
because we kind of like we agree on it.
Like we need to hear from somebody who doesn't agree. Hence the videos that we play, because it gives us an opportunity.
It gives us something to argue.
Have that rebuttal. Like you want that rebuttal at the end of the day. You want to be able to say, "Hey, here's the contrast. Well, here's the other side of that." So
by the way, friend, we actually have an idea that we're probably going to put into place once I get back to New York. And we can work on our schedules where we will get to argue with people. So
because we only have about 98 days. No, it's 97 days till the election, and I think the biddies need to start having open forums so that people can convince us. Yeah, we're just going to have open forums where people can convince us to do things, and I'm super excited about that.
The BGT said, I remember listening to Against the Bible, and then one day, like a bomb went off in my brain. I had an epiphany that none of this BS was real.
Exactly. Me and BGTV have talked about our conversion stories. I've put my conversion story online, and I think I asked BGTV during our when I did an interview. For those of you who don't know, I've interviewed BGTV, like in-depth interview, like had him sit there and me ask him all these questions. I don't even know if you've seen it, Nova. But I asked him.
You did it. Yeah, I saw that you did it.
Yeah, I had asked him, like, what's your conversion story? Like, what helped you? And he literally
watched a little bit too. Yeah.
it's a really interesting story because me and him have a similar story in the sense that he saw someone be so stupid and ignorant. He was like, I ain't never gonna be that motherfucker. And that's how it worked. That's how it was for me. I was like, I can't justify this. If motherfuckers are using this Bible to justify slavery, why am I a Christian? As a Black person, why am I a Christian?
That's
If
what
you
was
can
my
use the
disconnect
book
with it. Yeah.
to justify my enslavement. And it goes even harder for women. Why am I a Christian if I am subjected to this book that says it takes 2 witnesses before I can claim grape? Right? Like, what am I doing with my life?
Why am I believing in this? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it really makes you question who you are as a person. And I think those critical questions need to be asked. It's hard and it's uncomfortable. And it's really uncomfortable to come from being a faithful person, like a religious person, to move into your Gnostic, atheist kind of viewpoints. It's scary and it's hard, but it's something that should be, explored, especially for Black Americans.
Yeah. Wow. Jesus, yeah, people. It's
bad.
When
it's gonna get bad.
Yeah, Marty says so. In a way, thank you to G-Man.
Absolutely, I've told G-Man hates it when I say this, but the reason I'm an atheist, the reason I'm online, is because of G-Man. I would not have turned on a camera. I would have never made a video. I would have never became an atheist if it wasn't for G-Man. He's the reason for the seasons. That's why he's the high priest of the Church of the Soup. Like, we worship Lord G-Man, and he hates that. Yeah.
So, this video, Dr. Richie Richard, right? Okay.
Yes.
So, apparently he had a conservative on who wanted to argue Kamala Harris's likability and how Black she is.
All right, let's do it.
This conversation.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's do the thing. We're gonna get racist.
Yeah, but we were talking about it, and we're gonna put it into place. Like, we will be, having conversations with folks, and y'all know I love an open panel, right? And so,
I'm so open for an open
personal challenge for me because I'm not the biggest fan of open panels, but I think
we're gonna have to teach you how to I promise you guys, I'm gonna show Miss Nova how to regulate an open panel.
I like arguing with people when I'm in that mood to argue or to debate, whatever you want to call it. But I hate open panels because I can't stand all the talking at the same time.
That's why you gotta learn how to mute motherfuckers. That's what I'm saying. You gotta be able to mute people and be like, look, I'm asking you a question, motherfucker. You go, and then when you go, we gonna let somebody else rebut that shit. We gonna teach you.
But it'll be fun though.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun. It'll be a good time, and we'll figure out all the particulars. So keep a lookout for that, and then we also might be doing some Patreon stuff. I'll be back, and we'll be able to do some more stuff. And Miss Park is also a little bit more free these days.
A little more free, yeah.
All right, let's see what this fucking guy has to say.
Let's go.
We have Mr. Juan Villasmil, commentator for Young Voices. Always good to have him on the show. Hopefully this one will go better than last time. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. A lot has changed since the last time we spoke. The ground has moved from under the feet of MAGA. Donald Trump is feeling the pressure, obviously. J.D. Vance, I thought was a horrible pick, so does many MAGA fans. And now you have VP Harris, presidential candidate. You have Governor Walz, who is
I
$5 grand in his own right. Definitely popular with progressives. What say you?
You think I should leave it on 1.25?
No, definitely slow it down. Like I said, for me, because me and BGTV, we listen to stuff at 2 times, real quick. So it's an adjustment. Yeah. So no, definitely slow him down for sure for people who are listening.
I think I agree that he's definitely popular with progressives. He is, in some ways, a solid choice strategically, and I think Republicans should worry. Picking him in a way, someone that's unknown for most of the American population, 70% or even more, the American public doesn't know who this guy is. So the media can create an image of him that looks and sounds moderate, and he already looks quite moderate. He's just a white old guy, like Joe Biden, so he serves a similar role. But at the same time, the Trump campaign might take his selection in their advantage and hyper-focus on the far left attack. Because Tim Walz is very left wing in comparison to Josh Shapiro and some of the other people that were being floated around.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Her pick was not as political as I assumed it would be. I thought she was going with a more political pick. Governor Walz definitely is the guy who progressives wanted. I wanted it. Just didn't think he was going to get it. But let's talk about his the fact he has very low name recognition nationally. That's not a bad thing in this current era of politics, dear brother, as you know, because that means that his known negatives are very low as well. Because once you get known, your negatives simply go high. Trump has high negatives. Kamala Harris has high negatives. The Clintons got high negatives. We've known them forever. That's why they got high negatives. So these high negatives are attributable to what? To the fact that people know them. They don't know this guy. And then here's the other dynamic. And you can't deny this, dear brother. Even if you disagree with his political stance, his policy, et cetera, you like him. He seems to be a guy that you like. He says things that are funny, but still light. He doesn't seem mean-spirited when he drops a joke.
It's a little hard though, because he's likable, but the front of the ticket is not very likable. Kamala is not,
Really?
I don't think Kamala is unlikable. I don't think she was as unlikable. I feel like Hillary was unlikable.
The polls right now are showing that Kamala is netting anywhere between a 7 and a 14% likability above Donald Trump, JD Vance, and Joe Biden. So that it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I feel like she's likable.
She's exceptionally likable. If we're just going off of the polls, and I'm talking about like the top 10, most reputable polls that they use on news outlets, she's scoring high in everywhere.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is dropping. He went from 53% likability to I believe it was 42% likability today. He's dropping in the polls. JD Vance is not likable.
He's not likable at all.
He is not. So it's interesting to hear these right-wing talking points kind of come out, because what you hear from this evangelical right, and I'm not going to call them Republicans. I refuse it, because I love Republicans. John McCain was a Republican. I think Republicans are amazing people. Real Republicans, the rhinos, I think are amazing people who fight for this country and care about small regulation. They care about American families. They care about American values. These MAGA people, like this young man, they're just spewing things. They're just saying things and they hope it catches on. Nobody likes Kamala. Nobody likes her. They tried to say, these are the same idiots that said that Michelle Obama had a penis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to listen to anything you say, especially when I can go over in 5 seconds and find something that disproves what you're saying. So it's just, we're just going to say the most inflammatory things to make it seem like we're right while I'm talking. It's the, what do you call it? The, what's his name? Boogie defense. It's a boogie defense, Yeah, like that's what we're doing. We're just gonna keep saying things and hopefully nobody catches on. It's the Boogie Keemstar defense, and I don't like it.
To many Americans.
Let's go ahead and read the polling data. So obviously she's not your cup of tea. You're supporting the conservative candidate. In a recent poll, national head-to-head polls, you got Survey USA. Harris is up 3 points ahead of Trump, 48 to 45%. Morning consult, Chris up 4 points, 44 to 48% her way. You got YouGov and CBS News had her up 1 point. University of Massachusetts, Amherst put Harris at 46, 43. So she's actually leading, and she has been steadily trending, leading even before she picked Governor Walz. So once someone submits to me that, well, people don't like Harris, these polls are people responding to them.
Well,
you all like polls until they contradict.
No, I'm actually not a lover of polls. I think there's more to our politics, more than national level polls. There's trends that we can't ignore, and we can't ignore the Kamala momentum, that Kamala was elected and now she's this majestic figure that everyone loved. She's the next Obama, better than Obama even. Look at her laugh. I don't know, a month ago, everyone in politics was like, oh, her cackle's kind of annoying. And now everyone's like, oh my God, she's bringing joy back to our politics.
You know what is different? What is different, Juan, and I've interviewed VP Harris multiple times, and I've said this on record. I said she seems measured. She seems like she went to some default answers that were not her own. And now we see a very different VP Harris. As a matter of fact, on the day that Biden made the decision, I went on record and said, I hope she's not measured like she has been in the past, because you need authenticity right now. You need people who are willing to embrace their character and personality.
God, don't come with the authenticity.
So listen to me, dear brother. Listen to me. There is a difference in the delivery. You may think
there is
that she is not a favorite. Well, what you're really saying is that Trump is so horrible that even a person who did not go through a traditional primary process is able to be more popular than him. He's a terrible flawed candidate.
Let's talk about authenticity.
Okay. You want to talk about the flawed candidate Trump is, or no?
Yeah, okay, but let's talk about authenticity first.
I love his face.
So I understand that there's this term, code switching. It applies when you're applying to jobs or talking to your friends, right? You don't talk to me like you talk to some of your other friends. I understand it. But when you're a politician, Kamala Harris, like Hillary Clinton, sometimes takes it a little too far when she talks to specific.
Okay, first of all, the fact that I have a Caucasian 20-year-old man explaining to me code switching.
Yes.
Like there's an infuriation off top.
Yeah.
Code switching is something that has happened since niggas was in chains, being put on boats and brought over through the transatlantic slave trade. Code switching is something, it's a survival mechanism that is something that is built in to the slave population of America. I'm not even going to be like, oh, the black population. No, because there were more than one race in the slave population in America, more than one of us. And we all of those people had to learn to obey one side while holding on to their other part. Right?
Yeah.
It's a very delicate dance of ethnic. It's a very delicate dance, period. So to listen to a young white man explain to me what code switching is and how he knows it's bullshit, you don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because even at this point in time, in 2024, code switching happens for white kids. You know that Haktua girl? She's a young white girl, right? Haktua, right? She was on a TV. She was on a little clip and she got famous for her little Haktua. Do you think she talked like that in front of her grandma?
Exactly. You're right. I think she's also like a country girl too.
She is.
She was on with Bill Maher not too long ago.
Yeah, very small town. Yeah. She's from a small town, real cute little girl. You know, and she's in her 20s. She's a younger woman. Exactly.
Teenagers code switch in a way, like when they're not going to talk around us the way that they talk around their friends. Like I know I didn't. Like
thank you.
It happens in various, like, you know, different how do you call?
It's very nuanced.
Facets.
It's exceptionally, it's multifaceted and it's nuanced. The way I speak in church is different than the way I talk to the police officer who pulled me over. The way I talk to the police officer is different than when I've had 2 or 3 drinks and I'm talking to the homie at the club, right? The way I talk to my boyfriend might be different than the way I talk to my homegirl. That's what code switching is. And it doesn't mean that I'm a different person. It doesn't mean that I'm two-faced. It doesn't mean that I'm negating any part of myself. It's we move different depending on the situation that we're in. And so to even have this conversation is, I think there's some underlying racism there. What he's trying to do is say that she'll pick up her blackness and drop it whenever possible. That's what this white man is.
They're finding new ways to just say she isn't black enough. That's really what all of this comes from. Like, it's a new way of the affirmative action argument. You know, like she doesn't deserve to be there, which is why they call her DEI person.
Let's look at Vidal's quote real quick. Let me real quick, just because I know yesterday I was agreeing with her too much, but I need to push back on her. Okay. Oh God, Miss Parker making things up. Code switching didn't happen during slave trade because there wasn't globalism. So you're telling me that when the Spanish made the trade routes from Africa to America, Europe, and the Virgin Islands, that wasn't globalism, is what you're telling me. What you're telling me is that the slaves that boarded that boat and ended up being house slaves, or those slaves who ended up boarding that boat and survived the trip because they did what Massa told them to do, is not akin to code switching. So just doing what you need to do to survive is not a mechanism of code switching. It's totally fine. I understand. Cool beans, Vidal, but you always like to screw me. There is a kinship to it. There is a kinship to having to change your personality to fit into a situation to survive. It is a survival mechanism. I don't know what you're trying to argue, Vidal, but what I'm arguing is that code switching comes from the survival mechanisms of those who are put into bondage, learning how to live in a society that does not see them as equal. That is what has to happen. And this is a layover of that. If you don't, I mean, if you want to argue that, that's cool, Vidal, and I'll talk to you in Discord, but I ain't going to talk to you on this stream.
I mean, I think it also would show itself like back in the day when Africans wanted to still be able to practice certain religions that could not be practiced out in the open. Then they would mass those like deities that they
isn't that how Catholic saints got superimposed into voodoo and hoodoo?
Exactly. So that would be, in my opinion,
a form of
a version of code switching relevant to that era of time.
It is something that's passed down to us. It's something that it's a mechanism that was used to protect people and to make sure you were able to hold on to a little bit of yourself while subduing to the pressures around you. That's what that is. And I'm sorry, but Vidal, if you want to argue for this young white man explaining code switching to you, then that's totally fine. That's fine.
Let's get back into it. That's fine. Y'all gonna go back and forth.
Public, she seems to change her persona entirely.
Yeah.
When it comes to Donald Trump, he's pretty authentic. And when he wants your vote, he makes it very clear. He just goes like, hey, I love my African American over there. Hey, I love the Latinos. And the American population kind of likes that, I believe. Kamala Harris.
You think we like it when he calls us the blacks?
I don't think so, maybe.
Exactly, we don't like it. You know good and damn well.
But what I'm trying to say,
would you like it if he called you that?
Authentic. At least he's authentic.
But you say that to you that's authentic. You're talking personality, dear brother.
What would you say if I went on your show and when I go on your show, I start talking in a different tone and I'm like, what's up, bro? And then when I go in another tone, I talk in a completely different tone. You would say, oh, this guy is like morphing into a different persona. And I don't like this. It's not authentic. That's what Kamala Harris has done her entire career.
All right. Juan, what the hell are you talking about?
I'm talking about the truth. Kamala Harris will accentuate parts of her personality.
We all do that, dear brother, with black folk.
I know I do that when I go back to where I come from. The way I talk to people around where I'm at, it's gonna be different from even when I'm up here. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely. And that doesn't take away from your blackness or your Hispanic roots. You know what I mean? Like, this is who you are. And depending on who you're talking to, the conversation may be a little different. The dialect might be a little different. But the fact that code switching has come into the political conversation and they're trying to masquerade it as some type of gotcha.
Authenticity or something.
Yeah, that is the falsehood. This is something that's very rich in colonial. Like, if it wasn't for colonialism, code switching wouldn't need to be a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Marty said, don't we all do that? Yeah, I'd argue that.
Absolutely.
I'd argue that almost everybody does that. I've heard country people say that they code switch. Like when they go into the office, they're not using the same language. You're not going to use the same slang that they'll use back at home with their family or whatever.
In the office.
So
absolutely.
Right. So it happens,
We do it when we go from the club.
Get out of here, your mama.
Yeah, like we literally do it when we go from the church to the club. They're literally like you're twerking in the club, talking mad smack, drinking your little drink, whatever. You're having your good time. But come Sunday morning, it's a whole different conversation. It's a whole different mannerism. There's nothing wrong with code switching. Code switching is just a phenomenon that happens in humans across the board. We could say, like, literally every culture experiences some type of code switching depending on the situation that you happen to be in. Period. And it doesn't define or negate your nationality or your race. It's just the way that we communicate, because we're tribal creatures. We're always trying to fit in with the group mentality. So we're going to adjust our conversation or the way that we use our mannerisms to fit into that social structure. That's who we are. It's a part of it's just who we are.
Right. Yeah.
We know how to talk to you. We know how to talk to the supervisor. We understand how to talk to our community. It's called the vernacular of bias understanding. And so when you dig into the psychology of it, many times it's connected to the association of socialization, meaning you understand the culture in a way that others may not. You, because you're external of the culture, may not get that. And definitely white men typically do not get that because they have been the dominant culture and nenever needed the code switch. Code switch was required in order to communicate among different variables of the construct of power. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah, I understand the difference.
Okay.
I'm Hispanic, which is not the same, but I spent large part of my life in another country. And I understand you talk in different ways to different people. But as a politician, I think it's a little different. We're not talking about like code switching with your friend.
Right.
Or code switching, you're applying to a job or talking to a professor. We're talking about code switching.
Well, I got you, Juan. You're talking about tonality.
He's a different person, man. I've seen her speak. When she was in Atlanta, a different human being. I don't see that Kamala Harris almost every day.
Well, for someone like me, I'm a little more substantive than you are. I'm looking at is the person double talking? Right, are they saying one thing and then another? These are the things I look for.
Exactly. That's the way I would see it. Like if the things you advocate for or the beliefs that you hold are different depending on who you speak to. The same opinion, right? If you change that opinion depending on who you speak to, that's inauthenticity. That's where you're just a different person. You're morphing, you're a chameleon, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But if your dialect just changes, or maybe you talk about different subjects, or the way you convey a message is a bit different depending on who you speak to, that has more to do with just like with code switching. It doesn't mean you're inauthentic. It just means maybe this way of speaking won't be even understood by the person that you're talking to. Like that's the other part. Like, are you going to be understood by that person if you speak? You know, if you have someone who works in, I don't know. It's like when I used to work for a utility company, and I would have friends of mine, people that I know, ask me about certain things, like about their bill, whatever the case may be, or just explain the situation to me. I understood what they were asking from like a technical standpoint, but I'm not going to relay that information to them in the same way. I'm going to relay it to them in the way that they understand it so that they can understand it. And I'm just not, listening to myself speak. And I think, and I don't know that that's the best, comparison, but that's the best way that's the best I could come up with. But it doesn't mean you're inauthentic.
Politicians. Now, all of them are politicians. All of them do a level of double talking. All of them say one thing.
Kamala Harris's double talking is a little insane. Now she's law and order Kamala. But she was all for defunding the police, and so were you. And now,
wait a minute, dear brother. I'm
forget
still
about
for
that.
I'm
Kamala
still
Harris,
for.
put them back in prison.
Yeah, let's come back to me since you mentioned me. I'm still for defunding the police. Matter of fact, I've successfully been able to do it, but not to the tune. Not to the tune. Give me a moment, dear brother. I respond to you. Not to the tune that police defund the police, because police defund the police at a rate that's astronomical compared to what any Black Lives Matter activist or commentator has ever done. But let's go back to Harris. Defunding the police means what? It means reprioritizing the police budget to go to preventative work and preventative care inside of the community. What is the difference, brother, between public safety and policing? Do you know?
No, but first answer my question. Is she in favor of defunding the police now, or is she miss law and order?
I want you to understand my answer because of your framing. Defunding the police was a campaign to make people pay attention. Mm-hmm. The issue that people care about in their communities is this. Are you effectively providing public safety or policing? Do you know the difference between the two?
Yeah, I understand.
What's the difference?
Public safety is not just policing. There's more things to it, of course.
There you go. Now, that was the idea of the defund the police movement.
It's a triggering slogan for sure, Vidal. Yeah, it definitely had, because there are a lot of people who are not going to look beyond it. They automatically think it just means eradicate, getting rid of all police officers.
Yes.
They don't really look into what that actually means. But yeah, it was a bad slogan.
It was to reprioritize the policing budget so that you don't simply hire individuals who are reactionary to crime, but you invest money. Give me a moment, Juan. Give me a moment. By investing into operations that can prevent the crime from happening.
He's calling him Juan, so he must be Hispanic.
Yeah, some type of Spanish.
Oh no, this guy, he doesn't. Yeah, he's there. Like I think we talked about the other day, they're still operating under that old, green hair liberal. Let's trigger the snowflakes. That sort of like way of communicating with people. So they think everything that they're gonna say is gonna trigger somebody and get them upset. So they're not really having an honest conversation.
And then they get to be the victim, right? Like he gets to be the victim. It's like, look how mean this guy was to me, asking me all these nasty questions, right? So it serves two purposes for sure. They get to be the martyr, and they get to spew fuck shit.
Happening, such as youth alternative programs, which are 22% effective, according to FBI.gov, more so than the reactionary program of hiring a cop. Anytime you hire a new cop, you at best only bring down crime by 0.001%, less than 1%. That's why no one has ever been able to arrest themselves out of social economic dysfunction. Chicago got more cops, New York got more cops, LA got more cops. Every single city has still increased in their violent criminal stats. So how do you arrest yourself out of the social economic situation? You don't. You address the social economic situation.
Look, I that's very nice for you to say, and I understand.
That's correct. That's how it works. You know good damn well I'm right.
Yeah. Okay.
What happened?
I said, I don't know what lip gloss this young man is wearing, but it's really good.
So
and
nasty.
like I would love, because he smacked his lips a couple times, and I'm like, God, it doesn't look thick. It's shiny. It looks healthy. Like I don't know what he's using, but I kind of want to know, because I'm like, those are some really healthy lips, like God, this is great.
Oh, do y'all in the sidebar? Y'all know the angry veteran that had that I played the video yesterday? He actually commented on the stream from yesterday. Yeah, because I didn't know what his name was. I didn't know what his actual channel was because it was from another channel. And so I found out what his actual channel was. Yeah, he commented. I was like, oh shit!
Look at you! You're always starting shit.
I'm always everywhere. Don't ever get it twisted.
Proud of you.
Not everyone knew what was meant. That's the problem. No, I mean, people didn't really look beyond it either. They just heard
headline
police,
readers.
That was it. Yeah.
And it's a hard platform to run on with that slogan as your slogan, defund the police, because it's terrifying. I don't want to defund the police,
right?
But at the same time, I know that the police have this good old boy mentality. They investigate themselves. A lot of times when officers do things that are outside of their parameter, or they do things that are completely heinous and just diabolical, they don't always serve the time that they should if they were a civilian. So yes, there needs to be more attention put on our police stations, how we decide who gets to be a police and what happens after you become a police. But that's not conveyed in the slogan, defund the police, right? It's not it's not
and
really
it's also they don't say that. It's also about reallocating some of the funding that goes towards the police, so that you can go towards mental health services, so that instead of just police being dispatched to someone who's having a mental health crisis,
maybe hire mental health
to talk them down.
Like and there have been many police who said, like, we're not equipped. We don't know how to deal with someone who's having a mental illness breakdown. How many people who were mentally ill, suicidal, almost said the whole word, but who were in those situations to want to do that to themselves, and the cops just didn't know how to react, and that person ends up unalive. And those situations don't necessarily have to happen if we have the right people for the job. Every job doesn't need a gun, right? Like sometimes a job just needs a social worker. Sometimes the call just needs a paramedic. Sometimes the job just needs somebody to sit down and talk to you. They're peace officers.
Look at the Sonia Massey thing. That didn't need to happen in the way that it did.
Exactly.
He knew she was going through something because of the way he responded to her. So it's like, you knew this woman was having a moment, and you still ended up shooting her in the face. Like, that's insane.
Exactly.
Marty said, I remember angry veteran. No, not that angry veteran. No. He is still around, but it wasn't that one. It's another man who's been. That's what he titles his. Yeah, that's what he titles his videos. Angry veteran rants at blah blah blah. But it's not that. Not that one. I wish Kamala would have let the crowd continue with lock.
Honestly, I'm so happy she brought that up. I'm so happy she brought that up because I was watching the speech when it happened, and you hear the crowd surge, and they're like, "Lock him up, lock him up." She really like she does the best that she can to like stop them from saying that, and I appreciate that. I appreciate her not allowing the crowd to get so fervorous into that kind of rhetoric, because it's not about the justice system will lock Trump up. We're voting for politics. It's different. And I think there's a stark difference. And I appreciate her kind of stopping that conversation and saying, no, let's get back to what we're talking about.
Funny.
And it's hilarious. Oh, fucking hilarious. It was great. It lasted for a good like 45 seconds. Like they were booming it for a good minute.
The irony.
Hey, Dr. Ritchie, like, I understand that there's always other things to consider. But I'll posit this equation to your viewers.
Okay.
If you slash police funds and you have less police funding, less police on the street, what does that translate into in the short term? You can talk to me about rethinking and socioeconomic structures and putting some money here and eradicating homelessness, and all those things are true. But in practice, what happens when you just slash police funding without doing all these other magnificent, huge programs is the crime increases.
That's a lot. So we're going to give you facts.
We're going to give you facts. And that's why Kamala Harris and the rest of the Democratic Party stopped talking about defunding.
Then I give you one. Okay, that's fine.
I give you guys. It wasn't popular with the people.
Yeah, some people didn't like that. I mean, I got a lot of progressives didn't like that. But that's a disagreement and articulable argument. That's fine. But let's go back to the reality of what you just said. What you just said is a bold-faced lie. I want to take you to a place called Ithaca, New York. Ithaca, New York decided to do an analysis of 2 years of their previous 911 calls. They found that 49% of their 911 calls did not require a police at all, but rather a social worker. And so what they did is they started hiring a social worker for every cop or 2 cops that were dismissed or fired from the department. And so that social worker now is able to answer the call deputized under their police division. Well, guess what happened? Now most of their calls are congruent to the services needed for that community, and they have the staff to do it. My point is, you don't do it the same way for every city. You do it based on the data that your city gives you and says, this is based on you. That's how you do it, dear brother. And so they decided to deprioritize the money to people who got guns and gave it to folk who had a social license, and they work in harmony. And it did bring crime down in that region, just like it did in the city of Atlanta when they enacted a similar program for individuals who are living and trespassing on property, but not harming anybody.
Crime keeps rising, and
you're incorrect. You're a talking point.
Crime keep rising where?
Exactly.
Give us a state. Give us a city.
We saw that with Yo Mama too. I saw that with Yo Mama. Like he's, and I remember hearing people kept asking, like, "What's the case?" I think Vidal kept asking. She's like, "What's the case? Was asking that, Give me the case. What's the name of the case?" And I think that infuriated me on 2 levels. One, I'm agreeing with Vidal. That just brings so much pain to my soul. But at the same time, I'm like, yes, like if you can't tell me what you're talking about, then what you're talking about makes no sense, right? Like you want me to believe something based on what you're saying, but you're not willing to give me the information to understand what you're saying.
I can look it up.
Yeah, absolutely insane. He's like, the crime rate keeps rising. Where does the crime rate keep rising? What are we talking about specifically? I'm sorry, specifically. What are we talking about? You know what I mean?
It's like back in the day, your parents would answer back when you go, "Why?" And your parents go, "Because I said so." It's that. It's
infuriating, isn't it? Like, bitch, I'm not your kid. You ain't about to talk to me like I'm one of your children. Tell me the information or don't, because if you don't tell me, I have no reason to even listen to what you're saying because you have nothing to tell me.
Right.
That's what Sean had to tell you to say. Come on, man. Give me some facts.
Look, I'm all for social workers.
Give me some facts, Juan. Give me one fact. Juan, you got one fact.
Social workers are pretty cool. But when a man points at you with a gun, you don't need a social worker.
Well, that's correct. You need a police officer.
Right, you don't need a
police officer to deal with the investigation of that after the fact. But a police officer cannot stop that gun from being pointed at you, brother. Tell me how.
I didn't hear your question. I'm sorry.
Tell me how cops are reactionary agents. Their DNA, they're designed not to prevent crime. They're designed to respond to it. So if you're talking about prevention of crime, why the hell are you hiring cops? They're not there to prevent crime. They're not trained to prevent crime. They are trained to respond to it.
Okay,
so if you want to prevent crime, dear brother, you're talking about the wrong apparatus.
By definition, they're reactionary. They react.
That's right.
And
I better not ever hear no crazy shit about him because I just love the way he be talking to me.
I do appreciate him. I've kind of grown to like favor him a bit. At first, I was kind of weary because I was like, "Ain't no nigga with a hairline that crisp on my side." But eventually, I was like, "Okay, I'm okay. I like what you're saying, homie. I appreciate how you bringing it down." And he comes with a lot of facts. He also has a tendency to hold people's feet to the fire, like he's doing this young man.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. The Young Turks, I haven't always liked the Young Turks. I'm gonna be honest. I have not always been a Young Turk.
Me too. I've not always been and I still on the fence, like here and there. Sometimes they'll say
but
good
some
shit.
of their coverage is good. Like some of their coverage is really good. I don't necessarily like all their opinion pieces, but you know they do well.
He's like my favorite part. He's the favorite thing for me that came out of the Young Turks. Like when I started seeing this, I was like, okay, all right, now we're cooking with something. Like I like Dr. Rashad. Yeah.
They try to calm down the situation. Agents, we need more cops, better trained cops for sure.
Or you need holistic
to make our community safer. It's just like
do you agree? I'm getting the rap. Come on, man, agree with me. You need comprehensive public safety, right, Juan?
Yes, I think that
there you go.
There you go. The unfortunate part is that a lot of times, and we saw again when we spoke to your mama, they'll agree with certain things, but they don't understand how what they're advocating for is counter, productive for the thing that they agree is the problem. It's like, okay, so then how do you not see it? I don't know. I don't know. I think we have
Republicans are now paying.
I think we'll watch maybe 5 or 6 minutes and then we'll end it because we're at race.
I think you should just open the panel if you got the time because I do.
No, I don't have the time today. No, I gotta go.
You got things to do. You got adult.
Yeah. But I'm gonna play one. I mean, is there anyone that wanted to come up? I don't think so. No.
I don't know. The chat would have to let us know if anybody wanted to talk to us.
It's someone that disagrees specifically, not
anybody who agrees, but someone who disagrees with me and Nova. We would love to hear you convince us otherwise. And I am here for it. No ad homs. I mean, I might talk shit about you, but that's just who I am. But I'm here to listen.
Panicking today over the fact that Tim Walz has been an amazing choice for Kamala Harris. They're panicking. They're coming up with all sorts of reasons for why he's a bad choice. They're in the phase right now of throwing random shit at the wall, hoping it will maybe possibly.
This guy's becoming like one of my favorites too. I like him.
I really like him.
To stick to the wall, but it won't. Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh have taken it upon themselves to lead the charge on Twitter of Trump actuals complaining about the fact that Walz is, if anything, if we're being honest, Walz is absolutely rocketeering Harris's campaign. You know it's true. I know it's true. Everyone is saying it. Everyone knows it's true. But Walsh and Shapiro are resolute to lie to everyone and claim otherwise. Let's see what they got to say. Shapiro says picking Walz is a massive gift to the Republicans. He's a radical leftist from a non-swing state with a long history of insane statements, who presided over the burning down of his state in 2020. Kamala picked him because he's not a Jew. And she's too online TM. I don't know what too online means. Does anyone know what too online means? I've seen this.
Because he focused on the too online thing, but I would like to focus on he's not a Jew thing. And I find that to be such an interesting thing to say. Because
the other person that was in the running was a Shapiro.
Exactly.
Shapiro? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Democrats hate the Jews, so they're gonna choose somebody who's not a Jew. And it's this interesting, weird narrative that you see again on the evangelical right, because they're all about helping, Palestine, Israel, that this whole conflict that's happening. And if you're not on the right side, you're not with them, because they truly believe that the Jews are chosen by God, and if we don't protect them, if we don't protect Israel, if we don't, make sure Israel is the site of Mecca, then all of a sudden the whole world is going to end.
I don't even think they believe that the Jews are chosen by God. I think their whole thing is wanting to be able to get to Jerusalem during the end times. Do I have that right?
No, there's that too mixed in, along with the fact, which is really weird because it's counterintuitive to the fact that they believe the Jews are running Hollywood. The Jews
Soros
have
is
the cabal.
running.
Exactly. So it's a very counterintuitive message.
Ridiculous.
Exactly. So I find that to be interesting. He's not a Jew. It's like, out of all the things, he's not a Jew.
What's wrong with y'all?
Yeah, I just found that to be really interesting. That's the point that I focused on, not so much that she's too online, because that makes no sense. Donald Trump sends out like 200 messages a day on his
he's
social.
chronically online.
Chronically online. So that didn't stand out to me. What stood out to me is the he's not a Jew part. Like, I was like, what? Like, what?
Tweet since yesterday. I don't know what too online means. Maybe I'm not online enough to know what too online means. Can someone inform me as to what Benjamin is talking about?
No,
I don't know what that even means. He says Walt is a massive gift to the Republicans. Is it really? Usually you guys have dirt, but you've been incapable of finding any.
Yeah, he doesn't have scandals.
The biggest dirt you guys have found is he provides tampons to students in school who could be menstruating. Not every student can afford things like lunch. Not every student has access to things like tampons. Like, unfortunately, there are unfortunate kids out there who can't afford everything in school. He provides these things to these students, and that's you guys' biggest attack. I saw Megyn Kelly tweeting about Tampon Tim. We're going to be talking about Megyn Kelly in a second as well.
That's crazy too, because like for anyone, there's nothing but women in here. I don't think there's really. I think just BGTV is the only man. But like we all know how expensive menstruation products
You remember doing it your first couple of menstruations? I don't know if you guys can go back that far, but I remember my first 4 or 5 menstruations. They were traumatic, right?
Yeah,
like
I
you didn't know when they were going to happen. You didn't know how to like count the cycle. You didn't know what was going on. It just kind of sprung up.
I got it on vacation the first time. I was in the airport and I found out I had it. I was like,
it's embarrassing.
Going to Florida.
Right? Like who's there to help you? And for me, it happened in school. I was 9 years old when I got my menstruation. I was in school, and the nurse,
I can't imagine.
Oh my God!
I was
on
14.
the playground, on the jungle gym. Okay, I'm gonna tell you my little story. I'm on the jungle gym playing, living my best life in a pair of white overall shorts. No, that's what was in at the time. Right?
Yeah.
I'm cute. I got my pigtails with the little beads at the bottom, living my best motherfucking life. All of a sudden, a boy points up to me and says she's got a nosebleed in her pants. Never forget this day in my life. I ran to the bathroom crying, thought I was dying. The nurse comes and gets me, takes me to the nurse's office. My mom can't be contacted because she's in the military. So she's busy. She can't come. My white German granddaddy. Yes, Miss Parker's biracial. I'm triracial, actually. My white Irish granddaddy had to come pick me up. And he didn't know nothing about menstruation. So this motherfucker put a plastic bag on the seat, put me on the plastic bag, drove me to their house. I'm with my grandma, and she had to sit down with me and talk to me about the birds and the motherfucking bees. Traumatic experience. One of the worst in my life.
Terrible.
It was horrible. And what happens... This man, Tim Walz, Mr. Walz, Coach Walz, as they're calling him, has made sure that school nurses, teachers, coaches understand that, hey, girls have periods and we should have tampons on the ready. We should have pads on the ready for these young women who are dealing with this natural phenomenon, and we shouldn't make them feel bad. Oh, dear God, lock him up for allowing little girls to have menstruations without trauma.
Yeah, I know someone who was in the military that they when they were being deployed at one point, that their unit didn't have many women, but they said they had like 1 or 2 or something like that, and they had to make it a point because they were getting deployed, overseas and shit.
Yeah,
and they had to make it a point to like order
Yeah,
those
it was an
things
oversight
for the women, just in case. Yeah, it definitely is an oversight. It's crazy. Like, and I mean, so now all of a sudden Miss Parker's biracial, so she just returned.
Yeah, I just I'm hot now. That's why I've told y'all I'm the hardest working white woman on the internet. I'm trying to tell you. I don't want to
hit the like button, everybody. Thank you, Axelot. Like the stream, goddamn it.
Meg, we didn't forget about you and bleeding from your wherever. We're gonna get to you next. But how is Waltz a gift to you guys? He's a gift to us. You guys have been panicking. I think a lot of you guys are honestly in disarray right now as a result of Waltz being picked. He's a radical leftist from a non-swing state with a long history of insane statements. Insane statements like what?
Yeah.
I've yet to see any circulation of insane statements. And it's really rich that a man like you would talk about insane statements, given the fact that Donald Trump is the king of insane statements. Donald Trump reigns supreme over statements so divorced from intelligence, reality, dignity, poise,
let's put bleach in our veins to get rid of,
like insane statements are an issue for you is just pure dishonesty. He presided over the burning down of his state in 2020. Is that why Trump congratulated him and praised him over his handling of the riots? Is that why
you're
Trump
right, Vidal? It is an American thing, but it's an evangelical American thing.
And we spoke, and I fully agree with the way he handled it the last couple of days. I asked him to do that, and the whole world was laughing. 2 days, 3 days later, I spoke to the governor. The governor's, I think, on the call, and he's an excellent guy. You've got a big National Guard out there that's ready to come in and fight like hell. I tell you, what they did in Minneapolis was incredible. They went in and dominated. And it happened immediately. Tim is on the phone now, Tim Walz. Again, I was very happy with the last couple of days, Tim. You called up big numbers, and the big numbers knocked them out so fast, it was like bowling pins.
Our city is grieving and in pain. And I would just say, as far as the potential, the peaceful protesters who are expressing an outrage that is real, they witnessed 8 minutes of a man dying in front of them. Well, at that point in time, I did something unprecedented. I mobilized the entire Minnesota National Guard, and that's what the president was alluding to with the size of the force was capable. But I think, again, Mr. President, you asked on explaining this, I would just say, it's going to be very difficult. There are bad actors in this, but there is such a legitimate anger. Our real dilemma here is the transition back is to the catalyst that sparked this across the country, and that was what happened with the Minneapolis Police Department.
You might want to call in Mar-a-Lago and see what Trump got to say, because you and him are not on the same page here. Doesn't seem like y'all are in agreement about Waltz and those riots in 2020. And then he goes full-blown victim mentality. Ben Shapiro is now pulling the race card. After all the years of you and every member of the Daily Wire, including Candace Owens, making money off of saying, that's not racist, you can't prove that's racist, now you want to play the game of, that's racist! You are trying to use the fact that Shapiro was not picked as a racial battering ram against Kamala Harris. Ben Shapiro, you're all out of race cards. If anybody is in a severe lack of race cards, it's you. You, again, I remind you, you and the Daily Wire spent years telling minorities to stop looking for racism in places where it's not obvious. Now you want me to believe that Kamala Harris is an anti-Semite who doesn't want a Jew next to her running for office? Really? Is that what you're trying to say now? Are you trying to argue that somehow or another Kamala Harris is an anti-Semite, or her campaign is full of anti-Semites? Is that what you're trying to argue here? You're looking for racism where there is none. You're just throwing it out there, throwing anything at the wall. Hopefully, maybe, possibly it will stick. Ben, this is what we call victim mentality. This is what we call victim mentality.
I love using their own rhetoric against them. You have to,
like,
because
it's so delicious.
Yeah, it's so good when they do that. Okay.
Try to bring this up because for the last
we're gonna watch a music video after
Daily
this.
Wire was active and you were working for Breitbart. Y'all spent the last 20-some forever long years talking about that's not racist, that's not racist, that's not racist. You can't prove that. Well, you can't prove Kamala Harris did that because he's not a Jew. You can't prove it. So just relax. This is what bothers me about a lot of conservatives is you don't actually believe a lot of the I'll say about race.
No,
you do know that racism can be subtle. That's why when Candace Owens kept saying stuff like Christ is king in response to you, members of the Daily Wire were saying that's anti-Semitic. And I know why it's anti-Semitic, because you guys don't believe Christ is the Messiah, which I have no problem with. I'm not even a religious man. But if you're in an argument with a Jewish person over politics or even religion, and you respond to them by saying Christ is king, that's like, come on.
Granted. Okay, pause.
Saying, shut up. That's
yes, he's going into that too, because he's absolutely right. When the evangelical right wants to use Jews as a talking point, they use them as a shield, right?
Yes.
Like, you don't love the Jews, we love the Jews. But on the opposite end, they will simultaneously say that Jesus is king, which is you devaluing their religious beliefs. So it's so wild to me that you can it's the cognitive dissonance of it, right? It's just, it's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
Congratulations to Ms. Rain Seattle. I'm gonna be a grandma again, and I'm over the moon. Big congrats.
Yes.
What's the emoji? Is there baby rattles in the emojis? Well, find
something. There might be some baby emojis. Somebody find some type of baby emoji.
Throw some baby emojis in the chat for the new grandma. Congratulations.
Yes, we old as fuck. We all out here being somebody's grandma. Let's be honest. You somebody's ratchet ass auntie or somebody's grandma. Like, we are not young chickens anymore. We are not spring chickens. We are all over the hill. Let's be real.
You're basically like, that's literally just racist. It's funny how you guys in the Daily Wire now all of a sudden know what dog whistles are. You all of a sudden know what subtle racism is when it's directed toward your community. But when it's directed toward others of other communities, especially people who are left wing, now all of a sudden you don't know what dog whistles are. You don't know what subtle racism is. You don't know what these things are when it's not directed toward people who think like you or look like you or come from your community. This is my problem with y'all. Y'all don't stand for shit. You don't stand for anything.
I would argue
don't stand against anti-Semitism, even on the right.
I would argue they do. They do stand for something. The evangelical right in this country, like Ben Shapiro, like Donald Trump, like JD Vance, like the Heritage Foundation, they stand for something. They stand for evangelical rights. They stand for Christian evangelical rights. And these aren't even purist Christian rights. I would argue that Jehovah's Witnesses are purist because they don't celebrate holidays, because it's not in the Jesus didn't celebrate his birthday. Okay, so they don't celebrate birthday. Jesus didn't celebrate Christmas. They don't celebrate Christmas. So this fundamental, and I mean fundamental in the sense that it's what they consider fundamental Christian. They stand for their warped idea of what Christianity is. And the problem with Christianity is that you can come to so many different conclusions and still find a way to justify yourself within the text. And so they do stand for something. It's just something so convoluted and so outside of normal rhetoric that we can now see it. It's crazy to me because I've been watching this for like 9 years, watching the courts been stacked, watching all this stuff and listening to BGTV and Yato both tell me that I'm a conspiracy theorist and you're thinking too crazy. That's not what's going to happen. Look, this is where we are though. Here we are.
Where we are. Listen to women.
Listen, you know what I mean? But because I had a uterus and I had hysteria, they couldn't listen to me. You know what I mean? Prison berries couldn't listen.
We're gonna get you.
Yeah.
Connie said, "I'm trying to find my pink suede to make some baby moccasins for another new mom. Pink suede
baby moccasins. Oh, baby stunting on them.
That is adorable. Oh my god."
Vidal, don't nobody like you. First of all, Vidal, don't nobody like your bitch ass. Don't nobody like you. I hate me and Vidal are enemies. Like, she's my nemesis. I've never had, like, I thought G-Man was my nemesis. but Vidal's my nemesis. Like that's my nemesis online. She's the person, no matter what I say, she's gonna disagree with me. I'll agree with her on some things, but no matter what I say, if I say the sky is blue, this bitch is gonna be in the chat talking about, well, really, if you think about the spectrum of light, blue doesn't exist. Like, fuck you, bitch. I don't like you. Don't nobody like you. I hate
fake news with those.
I hate. Don't nobody like you. Don't nobody.
Off, y'all know I love my MAGA rap, and a new one has dropped recently. So
I'm upset.
I know
I've
been
just
watching
read
the Trump Latinos, right? But they've been dropping this black Donald Trump person, and so we're gonna watch the newest one that they just dropped. Me actually, look out, because me and Midwest are actually gonna do a stream going over like just having some fun with the MAGA rap, because there's a lot out there. And y'all know, for anyone who doesn't know, Midwest is
he's an amazing he's an amazing man.
Yes,
yeah,
he's fitting. So he's very good, and I thought it would be a good time to go over it with him.
I want to call him a young man because he still looks good for his age, but I'd be forgetting he's biracial, so he's gonna look good for the next like 30 years. You know what I mean? But he's an old man. He got like teenage kids and shit. Like, I'm just saying, like, listen, if Midwest lets me have a chance, I'm gonna change his whole life. Okay.
BGT said Vidal agrees. This is register what you just said. If Vidal agrees with you, she's silent.
Yeah. She only pops up when she disagrees. I can't stand her. I swear to God.
I love this land from sea to shining sea. It's America, the home of the brave, land of the free. They say we're divided, but we all stand tall. I'm casting my vote. Hear freedom call. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they.
Bitch, what are you doing to me? What is wrong with you?
I haven't heard this one. I didn't know this is this bad.
What is wrong with you? What are we do? How did we get here? Homie.
Look,
oh my God.
You know they're gonna be rolling them out even more now. All this MAGA rap, they working overtime because of what's going on. And I'm here for it. Is this your mama's new song?
Oh my God. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
It's only 2 minutes. It's only too much.
Oh my God.
Selling. I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they say.
After Effects are on point for sure.
I'm voting for the felon. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the felon.
I saw that shirt at like fucking. Yeah, I saw that shirt. That shirt, I believe, don't get me wrong, but I believe it's at what's the name of that place? Not Trader Joe's. The one place where all the hunters go. Big Five, I think it is.
Oh man.
I think it's called Big Five. Like they have like all the hunter stuff. You can go in there and like get all your camp gear and stuff like that. Like I am so upset. First of all, I don't know if we could be friends anymore because this is in your algorithm. Like we may have to discuss our friendship after this. Because this is a problem. Kabbalahs. Yeah, it could be Kabbalahs. Like this is one of those shirts you see in those magazines they send you to your door, right? And they're like, ooh, your husband might like this. Your dad, Father's Day is coming up. Check out this shirt. Like what in the Midwest is this? Like, and he's just by a tractor. Like I'm just so upset. Okay, go ahead.
Great.
Yeah, it feels like Bass Pro Shops or Big Five. Yeah, that's where I've seen this shirt. I swear to God, I hate you so much.
We've been singing the
That's not his word. Just so y'all know.
I've suffered. It's been way too long. It's
Not
time
suffered.
for a change. We're breaking free from the chains of their false history.
No.
We've got a voice and we're making it known. This is our America, we're taking it home. They promised us hope, but delivered despair. Under Democrats, it's been unfair. We're saving America with freedom in our hands. No more division, united we stand. Americans standing tall with pride. With Trump we ride side by side. I don't care what they selling.
I hate you so much.
I'm voting for the
Okay, can I pause real quick? Can I pause one more time? Okay, listen, I am literally in Nashville. I am 45 minutes away from Clarksville. Okay. I am in a red state, in a red town, and I have yet to see anyone wear their fucking, first of all, you don't see cowboys in black jeans. Okay, first of all, let me just go ahead and say that right
like
they're blue jeans, they're denim.
Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, it's denim. Secondly, I don't know nobody tucking their fucking denim into their boots to show off their ostrich skin boots. That's not something we're doing. Even Latinas in Mexico ain't doing that. Like, I don't know what this fashion choice is. This is the costume of Midwest America. Like, I'm so tired of it. And I'm not saying that I am salt of the earth Midwest America. But what I'm saying is, like, this costume, Beyonce put this costume on, and we can get into that shit too. I don't like her new country album. I think it's full of shit, and she shouldn't be on the country music charts at all because she just put the fucking costume on. I'm gonna say it for what it is. She should have never did that song, Jolene. That was horrible. I hated it. I don't like you, bitch.
Really?
Oh my God, I hated it. Hated it.
I don't think I've listened to the Jolene.
Whitney Houston did a Dolly Parton song, and she turned it into a fucking hit. Fucking Beyonce touched a Dolly Parton song and turned it into a mockery. But this right here, it feels like that. It feels like what we're doing is we're taking coons and we're putting them in a position to appeal to white America. Because there's a difference between white America and white America. White America is out there trying to make sure everybody has equality. Everybody sits at the same seat. They're trying to have the conversation. They're trying to be uncomfortable. They understand that there's nuance and complexity to the situation in America. White America is trying to defend their position. Okay, that's the difference. This motherfucker is white America. Like, he's a black man written for white America, and I don't like it. I don't like it. It's ridiculous. These visuals are upsetting me. They're very much so
bad too. Like, it's really bad. Like, it's not a good fit. Like, I didn't see like on TikTok. I didn't see like black cowboys and stuff. Like, actually, like black dudes that are cowboys, and they fit. They don't look like I think they look so sexy in the way that they like present themselves. Oh my God!
I got me one, bitch. Let me tell you, I got me one.
Yeah, it be tripping me out because my man wears cowboy boots to go to work too, and I'm like that's just I didn't like cowboy boots before, but the way you wear them,
yeah, there's some swag to it. Like, God damn, you look good, right? So there's something about it. It's not authentic to me. You're not, and I think that's what upset me about the Beyonce album. This isn't authentic to me. You are trying to sell me a costume, and you don't even look right in the costume.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't listen to the Beyonce album, so I can't really speak much on that. But this what he got going on, or you can't see the mouse, but what he got going on, this outfit is horrible.
This isn't right. No, because there's no respecting cowboy that I know in Tennessee, Kentucky, Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know any cowboys that are rocking a look like this. I don't, and I see them every day. So I don't see it. I've never seen this. You're selling it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care what they selling. I'm voting for the family. I don't care what they selling. I'm voting.
Nigga said, "Yeehaw!" That didn't even sound right.
I don't understand the desire to,
all the ad libs are fake.
President Trump.
I don't understand the desire. I don't know what they're proving with this. You know what I mean?
Well, what they're doing is they're trying. Okay, like Dax the rapper. I was so into Dax the rapper. You've seen him, right? Like the Canadian dude with the dreads.
Yeah, I think I know.
Just the alcohol song or whatever. Like, I was so into him, and I'm like, oh my God, he's so fun. And I enjoyed like 2 or 3 of his songs. And then I start digging into who he is, and I'm like, bitch, you're wearing a costume. Like, this isn't right. Like, I don't like this. And I'm seeing that with a lot of these MAGA artists that are coming in. Even the McDonald dude, isn't that what his name is? Like something McDonald or McDowell.
Oh, Tom McDonald.
Yeah, McDonald. It's this weird costume that they're putting on because they know good and goddamn well that this image is going to sell to a particular demographic. So I'm going to make my money just kind of talking to them.
And that demographic should be ashamed of themselves because it's bad.
Well,
no. Tom McDonald's demographic is basically people that like Eminem. Now, I hate to say that, but although I don't think that
Yado kind of makes that point too. Yado makes the point. He's like Eminem opened the door for some of this stuff to
don't
happen.
like black people, but like hip hop or like rap. So we're often with Tom McDonald. Yes, you hear a lot of them say, "I don't really
like hip hop, but I like him."
What you got going on? Exactly.
That's what I found out about Dax when I was going through his comments. His comment section, that's what it was. I don't usually like hip hop, but I really like you, Dax. I'm not into the hippity hop.
Tom McDonald's comment section is all, hey, I'm a 65-year-old white woman from Texas, and I don't normally listen to hip hop, but you're speaking the truth, young man, and I'm always gonna support you. That's lie, the majority of his comments.
And it says a lot about the artist, right? Like your audience says a lot about who you are as a content creator, as an artist, as a poet, as a writer. If the people who are gravitating toward you have a very extreme belief, you might, it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck,
Yeah, yep. Hey, I had a moment like that years ago when I first started YouTube, and I was like friendly with certain people because I was new to YouTube and all that. And I noticed that there were some people with certain beliefs in my audience, and I was like, I had to take a step back and go, hold on,
what am I really saying here? Like me? Yeah, you really have to reevaluate.
Why is what I'm saying attracting those people? And I know
that's why I evaluate who we are as the biddies, because I'm trying to figure out, like, as the biddies, if we're still attracting Vidal, something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the measurement. I don't know if the rest of you guys, but I measure that. Like, if she's still in the chat, I'm fucking up as an individual. You know what I mean? I'm still not getting the point across the way I should. I think
it's good to still have I think it speaks to the fact that, like, we can have some pushback. Because Vidal will push back.
Yeah, she does. She has enough balls to, which proves that she's a white man. But I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely appreciate her evangelical white man viewpoints. But I just don't like the fact that she represents herself as a black woman, right? Like, I feel like that's a conversation we should have.
Actually, she just turned black because she was Indian.
She did. Exactly.
And she just turned black, so I don't know. It's something fishy about that. But
I'm gonna have to get on my Umar Johnson points because there's some problems. We got to evaluate.
Cash App and your PayPal.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I love you. I'm sorry, that was too far. I love you, Vidal. I'm sorry. I hate you, but I love you.
Mag. Okay, so there's one more. I'm sorry. I gotta.
I'm ready. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, we got a little bit more time. So I'm gonna touch y'all with one more. And this group has hurt my soul because I think they're Puerto Rican, and so every time I hear them, I'm more upset.
It says Trump Latinos MAGA angel, and I'm very upset. And I'm gonna be even more upset if there's like a Carlos Santana type beat happening here. I'm gonna be even more upset. I am.
Vidal said, if you don't hate me, I'm messing up.
Exactly. That's what she serves a purpose. I hate her, but I love her. She serves a purpose. MAGA angel. Oh my God. Not a Catholic cathedral. Oh yeah, these are these are Latinos for sure.
Oh yeah, they're like Puerto Rican or something like that.
Yeah, this baby Joker.
God sent us an angel. He sent us Trump.
Oh my God, bitch! What do you have me watching? What type of After Effects madness is happening right now to me? Play that back. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go again.
God sent us an angel. He sent us Trump.
No, he sent us Trump. God sent us an angel. No, not the tiny hand man, not Daddy Warbucks, not Mr. Bone Spurs. What? I'm sorry, Lieutenant Bone Spurs. What is happening?
No, comfort though. There are legit black country artists, which is one of the I think upsides of the Beyonce album is that on my algorithm I even got like black country stars doing like fire ass music. So
did you hear Buckle Bunny? I think I sent you Buckle Bunny. Okay, now I'm gonna argue the young artist who does Buckle Bunny, she did that song a year and a half before Beyonce started working on the album, which was like 3 years before it even got dropped. I would argue that the artist who does Buckle Bunny is the person that she copyrighted. I would argue that because it's exactly like that's what Beyonce was trying to do, but just couldn't get there because this young woman was authentic and like actually grew up in the South with all of those pop music, country music influences and was make a mesh up. Yeah, it was a beautiful fusion, and Beyonce just didn't make the mark. That's my argument, but that's for another show. Yeah.
From the heavens above, God sent us an angel. He sent us an angel.
No, he is not wearing a Trump fucking baseball jersey. Is this nigga wearing a Trump baseball jersey?
Yes, it says Trump Latinos, and I'll do you one better. I don't know if you can see it up underneath his beard.
It says MAGA.
It does. Him and his
partner. He did not tattoo MAGA on his. No,
they definitely did. They did a video of them doing it. Yeah.
Oh my God! Because I see the MA. And I was wondering what that was, but
it's right on their neck, MAGA.
That's so fucked up.
Man, that wake up call is gonna be rough. All right.
Angel, he sent us Trump from the heavens above. God sent us an angel. He sent us Trump. I walk around with an S in my chest. Holy water in the back of my pocket. They mute you when you try to voice your opinion. Backing down.
He said, I walk around with an S on my chest and holy water in my pocket. Who are you, Constantine? Who are you, sir? Sir, this is a Wendy's. This is a Waffle House. Why do you have holy water? What are you doing? What demons are you exercising on a regular basis to where you
the dems.
Water? Not a gun on your pocket. No, I don't have crack in my pocket. I got holy water in my pocket on lock. A holster full of holy water, ready to smite these demons. Who are you, sir? This isn't where are oh my God, I hate you so much. I hate you so much. I don't even know
backing down. Yeah, we standing up and we voting Trump. I know change is coming. I can hear the angels humming. I know that change is coming. Ain't no life without Jesus. So I drop to my knee and say the Patriots need ya. We're the Trump Latinos, the new world leaders. From the heavens above, God sent us an angel.
They say we're the new world leaders, right? The Latinas are the new world leaders. Let me explain something to you. Donald Trump wants to put y'all back in cages. I don't know if y'all remember.
Exactly.
During his presidency. Dude, we still have thousands of children who were detained by Donald Trump in cages who still don't know where their parents are. We are still trying to marry children and parents together because of what he did. But we're the new we're the new Latina leaders.
What I was talking about earlier with, and I think they're Puerto Rican, and this is like an issue that you hear from some Puerto Ricans. Like there's a disconnect from other Hispanics that are not citizens to America, and it's like, yeah, we may be cool because we may be safe because we're technically citizens. I mean, I was born here.
Yeah,
but you are born on the island, right?
Let me explain something to you, Nova. No, you're not safe. Let me explain something to you. On page, I want to say 60, they talk about immigration on the 2025, that Project 2025. They talk about it. And I was telling BGTV this, and I was like, look, let's say Nova's a man, because she got a dick, obviously, because she out here talking on the internet. But let's say that Nova's a man and I'm a woman, and we have a child together. Nova is from Puerto Rico. She's not an American citizen, but I'm an American citizen, born and raised, and I have her child, right? I have his child, whatever, right? And we have a baby. Well, that baby is illegal too, because one of the parents is illegal. So that means the baby and the parent get.
Yeah, but not from Puerto Rico. That's what I'm saying. Like from Puerto
they're
Rico.
arguing. Yes, they're arguing from Puerto Rico too, bitch.
Well, they want to separate it or something?
Yes,
I
they
know
want to
argue with the.
If you're from Puerto Rico, you need to go back to Puerto Rico.
Oh, well, then you go. But I think that the misconception with a lot of Puerto Ricans is that we're cool, right? Like we're here. Can't nobody take us off,
safe.
The mainland because we're
not.
safe. But realistically speaking,
you're not.
At some point, number one, like nobody's gonna know you're Puerto Rican. They just may know you're Hispanic, and you'll get treated as such until they know you're Puerto Rican, which is a whole other. I mean, Mark Anthony sang the national anthem, and people were asking why they let immigrants sing it.
Yeah, people lost their fucking shit. Let Mark Anthony sing. People lost their motherfucking shit.
This man was born and raised in the Lower East Side of New York.
He's not American. Everybody was questioning his Americanness. He's not American. Why would they let a Mexican sing this? He's not Mexican, right? Like it was crazy.
So it's like to advocate for like borders and stuff like that. Being Hispanic, no matter what kind of Hispanic you are, I mean, especially if you're indigenous or Black Hispanic, is insane to me. That shit is crazy to me.
And that's the word for it, Miss Monster. It's birthright citizenship. They also the right wing likes to call it anchor babies, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
That's what the anchor baby argument is no matter where you come from, if your child is born on American soil and you, the parent, are not a legal American citizen, then you don't deserve to be here. And I want to emphasize this enough. Listen, California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Utah, all of that was owned by a different country. When America owned it, the people who were already living there became illegal immigrants instantaneously. So what they're trying to, like, the ball rolls in a really weird way, because if we decide to say that you don't have rights here because you're born here and your parents were not legal citizens, then that means people 4 or 5 generations back are not legal citizens. You're talking about it. It's ridiculous. These are slippery slope arguments, right? Yes. And they have huge ramifications. We can't allow the dam to break. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not saying that American laws are perfect and that, oh my God, they work great all the time. But at the end of the day, we have a foundation that we have to build on. This is the great American experiment. And if we're not willing to put everything into this experiment wholeheartedly and honestly, then it's not going to work. It's not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From the heavens above, God sent us an angel. He sent us an angel. This message to the youth. Democrats always.
All right. Now,
I hate you.
As a Puerto Rican, I know that some of us subscribe to some of the, bigoted viewpoints about Black folks that
colonialism is a motherfucker.
Exactly. All right, now this could be just it could be how do you call them? Maybe not intentional, but why is a guy about to do the crime Black?
I noticed that, but I wasn't, because I try my best. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. I try my best not to subscribe to that. Right now, my new partner, he sees these things automatically, so I've been a little more keen to it. And yes, why is the dark-skinned Latina the one who's committing the crime, and his light-skinned brethren is behind him?
Like, no, fam, no.
Yeah. So it's weird, right? Okay, I'm happy you saw that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm happy you saw that, because I was like, I hate you.
Oh, look, my upbringing, we saw that shit everywhere, man. My father raised us very, and I didn't realize it until I met other Puerto Ricans, how uniquely my dad raised us. My dad and my mom raised us, and like, my dad would tell us, like, you're light skinned, don't get it twisted. And until I met other Puerto Ricans, I would regurgitate like just bigoted ass talking.
Dumbass shit. Yeah. You got dumbass shit in your mouth. Yeah.
I was like, because I was raised around predominantly West Indians. And like, so I, Like I didn't know no different. But when I started hanging around more Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and all that, I was like, yo, some of y'all are fucking bigots, yo. That's just crazy to me.
Well, and I think that goes to colonialism. Colonialism hit the world. Like the world was affected by colonialism. The way that we have and I don't know a better word right now other than a caste system when it comes to like how light you are, right? The lighter you are, the better you are, the darker you are, the more sin you have. And that corresponds with colonialism and this religious kind of idea that the sons of Ham are inherently evil, right? There's this idea that circulated around the world, and we're still subjected to this stupid, archaic idea that, hey, there was this old dude who made a boat, and he had 3 sons. One of them happened to be black, and that guy was the sinner. Like, it's fucking dumb. Like, we have to, like, this is fucking stupid.
I would see it in some families, even families, you know, parts of my family where, like, you know, cousins and aunts and all that shit, where the light skinned child with the looser curls or whatever, they get treated like the princess. They're the one always being called pretty, always being complimented, all that shit. The dark skinned one would be the workhorse. They never get the same attention. They're usually the one that ends up taking care of the parents. They're treated as such when the other one is treated as like their prize. It's insane to me. And
well, it's called intergenerational trauma, and it's something that's passed down to us through years and years and years of society and the way that we build our civilizations. And it's something that I think at this point in time in human history is archaic. Right? Like I've said this before in streams and I'll say it again. I want to live in Star Trek universe as opposed to Star Wars universe. There's a stark difference. Star Wars universe is this never-ending battle that we're constantly dividing and fighting each other over these arbitrary things. Whereas in Star Trek, we've learned to live together. No matter what you are, what planet you come from, no matter what you look like, your creed, we're here to make the universe a better place. And I think that that's where humanity is supposed to be, right? And I know it's like it's my whole sci-fi geek shit coming out, but like there's a promise there. There is a promise of a better tomorrow.
He sent us a name. This message to the youth. Democrats always hide the truth. This a message to the young ones. Out up in the streets playing with dumb guns. Pull that trigger, you gon' lose your life.
Let me save black man.
Can't write a sentence, but you got a life sentence. You could be a street nigga, but you could do better. You could vote for Donald Trump. You could be a street nigga, but you could do better. You could vote for Donald Trump or vote for the devil. This country's falling and burning. Hollywood is.
He said you can be a street nigga or vote to do better. You can vote for Donald Trump or vote for the devil. Bars, right? Like fucking bars. And right there's the evangelical right. They've literally toted Donald Trump as
on his forehead.
They've toted Donald Trump as some savior of the Christian right, when in actuality, he's a child rapist. He's a tax evader. He doesn't pay Caesar what is due to Caesar. He doesn't care about the religious right whatsoever. When they asked him, what's your favorite Bible verse? He was like, oh yeah, I love both testaments. What? Like, I have never talked to a Christian who couldn't tell me their favorite verse. Usually it's John 3:16, but regardless, but regardless, like, they know their favorite verse. Like, even me, I'm a fucking atheist, and my favorite part of the Bible is the Sermon on the Mount. I can tell you not only where it is in Matthew, but I can cite to you what he is telling you, the 3 different stories he tells us in the Sermon on the Mount. And I'm not even a fucking Christian, right? Not anymore. But for Donald Trump to be like, oh yeah, I just, you know, it's one of the best-selling books in the world outside of, you know, the Art of the Game, or whatever the fuck his name of the book is. And It's absolutely ridiculous to me that they are toting someone who is so apathetic to Christian beliefs. He's been divorced and married 3 times. He has multiple children by multiple women. He's an adulterer. He's a child abuser. He is a tax evader. He doesn't follow the law. This is nothing that a Christian would do, but they're like, yeah, he's the savior of Christianity.
Yeah.
If anything, he's the fucking Antichrist. Like, if you look up the definition of Antichrist, like, he fits all the monikers.
He's closer to that, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Fuck.
Ms. Rain Seattle said, my middle-aged white women take these clowns can't make money in the culture, so they're selling out the culture.
Yeah, a lot of them are like the Hodge twins, Candace Owens. I would even argue that Umar Johnson.
Bryson Gray is like that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
He tried to go mainstream, didn't work.
And then, hey, I'm going to go ahead and sell out. And I think that that's a way. And I would argue that there a part of that is to play with Yo Mama. Yo Mama knows his audience, right? Like, I wasn't a part of the conversation, and I know he's going to hear this, but I don't really give a fuck. But like, Yo Mama's audience happens to be a particular demographic, and they resonate with that type of rhetoric. And when you listen to him and how he talks about the people that he chooses to talk about, when you really look at it across the scheme of who he tries to cover, they're women, right? They're like,
yeah, but at the same time, like, there's a large women audience, so being like anti-reproductive rights and all that, it's like,
it makes us cringe because we're not part of that woman demographic, but that female demographic exists, and he's monopolizing on it. And for somebody who appreciates capitalism, because I understand that things are nuanced. I understand what he's doing. I get it. Cool beans. Placate to your base. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to give you any ass pats for that, right? So yeah, it's very nuanced.
Zena said your mama thinks you just had a problem with him not voting for a black president. That's a very elementary
argument.
like,
yeah, that's stupid. Yeah, that's dumb as
that
shit.
wasn't even a part of the conversation at all, actually. Like, that had nothing to do with
it's about policy. Like, what do
Yeah.
you believe in? Do you believe in the policy of someone who's able to use the presidency as a vehicle to make more money for his family and sell American secrets, and also get away with treason, murder, grape, and fraud? Or do you want someone who's willing to stand up for the little guy and fight for union, social security, and things that matter to us on a day-to-day basis? That's what the conversation is about. If all you can do is equate it to race, then you really don't belong in this conversation, because it's beyond that.
And it really wasn't ever part of the conversation. It was never really part of it at all. So yeah, that's an interesting takeaway.
I appreciate the notion, because if that's what he's thinking, then he really doesn't deserve to be in a part of the conversation at all.
Hey, everything went over your head if that's what you got from it. But anyway, let's finish this video.
Perverted children can't read the Constitution, is written in cursive. Salute all the vets. Thank you.
I hate that argument.
All the EMT police officers and workers. Proud to say
the argument that kids don't know how to read cursive. Like, they a lot of right-wing people are like, oh, they took cursive out of school. They took cursive out of, I hear this in like small towns, because I can't say too much about what I'm doing on the outside of the YouTube, but like, I do hear this a lot. Like, they've taken they have taken cursive out of schools. Well, do I think it's a problem? I think it's weird, right? Like, why not teach a child cursive? But at the same time, you have to understand.
Kids are not writing that much anymore. Exactly. One of his old teachers told me that. One of my kids' old teachers told me that. Because I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to teach him like this years ago. And I said, his handwriting needs a little bit of work. And that's something that I should be worried about. This, again, years ago. And he was like, honestly, there's not a huge focus on writing these days, because of the fact that everything is going to online. Computing. Everything is is on computers. So I mean, the cursive thing, I think it's a weird contention, like
it's a weird argument to have. It's one of those stupid arguments you make, and I understand. Look, if you want your child to learn cursive, then as a parent, you can teach your child to learn cursive. Both of my
Yeah.
adult children know cursive. My godchildren know cursive. They're still school age children. So you can
Yeah,
teach
some
your
know it.
child cursive if that's what you want to do. The school curriculum may
It's
not
not
be teaching
focused on it.
cursive, but they're teaching computer science, right? Like those are the jobs of tomorrow. Those are the skills of tomorrow. That's where we are in human history. We're
Yeah,
computing now.
exactly.
You know what I
You need
mean?
to know how to. I like this joined up writing. That's what they called in the UK.
Yeah.
I always thought cursive writing was writing with swear words. I just don't understand that being a huge fucking a huge deal. Like if you want to teach it to them, like you said, teach it to them.
You can
Like,
teach it.
nobody's
It's
stopping
not
you from
impossible.
teaching it.
There's entire curriculums you can get for
everything.
free. Like
Yeah.
legit, there's entire curriculums you can get on free for cursive writing, teaching a child how to hold their pen, how to make sure they get the right, get the words right. But it's not impossible. Do you believe that a lack of writing and cursive will come back to haunt us? Kids can't read clicks with hands or maps either.
Well,
They really shouldn't be eliminated.
well, no. That I don't think the cursive thing is a big deal.
Clocks. Okay,
but
I
the
understand
clocks
what
and
you're saying
maps,
about
I
clocks.
agree with that. I think that
Yes.
that's something that you should learn. Yeah.
Not being able to read an analog clock, I'm with you,
Yeah,
Vidal.
yeah.
That's a fucking problem. We should definitely teach kids
Yeah, I
how to
agree.
read an analog clock and how to
And
understand
to understand
a
the map.
military
Yes.
clock. Like the fact that there's adults that I've talked to who don't understand what 1400 hours means upsets me.
Mhm. I
Right?
always have to go back to 12 when I get military wear. I have to go back to 12 and then I
trick.
count it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the trick, right? You
Oh
go
my
back to
goddamn
12 and
it.
you count from there.
Yeah.
But it's something that's really important because
Yeah, I agree.
when you're reading clocks and analog, understanding what time it is where you are and what time it is where somebody else is very important. So I'm
Yeah.
totally down with Vidal. Yes, we should definitely teach
And the map
kids.
thing too, because there's like a lot of dead zones when it comes to just service, and you don't want to be caught out in the middle of nowhere without a map, especially with the fact that there's still like sundown towns that are active. There was a video on TikTok. I don't know if you saw it. There's a video on TikTok of this. He's a black truck driver. Was he a truck driver? Yeah. And he was telling the story of how he was in Texas and he had stopped at a gas station, and they were like, they didn't even ask him to pay. They were like, you have to go. Like, you have to go right now.
I'm around
Do not
several
stop.
sundown towns.
Yeah.
Like
so,
I am
yeah,
I
you
am
need a
6
map.
miles from a sundown town. Like legit. Let me explain. I'm 6 miles from a sundown town. And it's absolutely horrible. Vidal brings up an interesting point. Like if you can't read cursive, then you can't read the fundamental documents of this nation, right? And for that, I would argue that those documents have been translated so many times that reading cursive is no longer necessary. We have technology and information that supersedes the cursive of those reading documents, those written documents. So we can still interpret them accurately. And
Just
so,
scan it and put it
yeah.
in
So
the
there's
Comic
a part of me
Sans.
that's like, yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from. If you want to read it directly from the Bill of Rights, it's all in cursive. It is kind of hard to read if you don't understand cursive. But at the same time, those documents have been printed in just, Arial text, So the argument just doesn't have as much weight, I guess.
But I agree with the maps and the clocks. I think that is a good I think just because of the whole sundown town thing I mentioned, I think it's a good idea to know how to read a map, because if you get stuck in the zone and you drive,
should know, you should know where you are, what north, south, west, east is. You should know, you should definitely know what a mile is. You should know these things. They're quintessential.
Thank you for your service. All the EMT police officers and workers try to say I walk with God.
Vidal, I hate you.
When you go against the grain, you fighting to beat the odds.
I just hate no matter how many fucking roses I try to give Vidal, she always comes back and she's like, well, here's the fuck you. You know what I mean? Let's rely on other people's interpretation. That's worked well for Black people and women for centuries. There is the conspiracy theory in that, right? Like there is a conspiracy. We can't trust interpretations. We can't trust.
But if it's like oh my God, I'm losing my words. If it's an exact like translation, which in that case it really wouldn't be a translation. It's just
It would just
writing
be a
it in standard
copy.
text.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's not like it's not really an interpretation of it. It's just literally reprinting it as standard text so that everybody can read it.
Yeah, and we
That
have
is how I look at
multiples of those that you can verify. So that argument too kind of lands in the sand. But I love you, Vidal, and I hope you're able to click your mouse 2 or 3 times today. But yeah, that just doesn't work.
From the heavens above, God sent us an angel. From the heavens above.
This is a terrible song, and they're gonna be more like this when me and Midwest go over some of these. I think it'll be a good time, and but I think we'll just end it here. I think that was good. We went over.
We did some things. We talked about
we
stuff.
went over it. It was a good conversation. I feel like, oh, Rashad is live. Hey yo, dope. But as we were talking about before, we're going to work on that panel show. I'll be back in New York next week, so I'll be able to work on a little bit more. This weekend, y'all see me over on BGTV's channel for tomorrow. Other than that, I'm not doing nothing until
What are y'all
Wednesday.
doing tomorrow?
Well, the regular Shanny stuff. Well, I don't know if it's gonna be Shanny, but you know how we do the Saturday show.
I might be able to jump in on that one depending on what my schedule is.
Yeah, so just let us know. You already know. Just let us know. We'll drop it for you. But so yeah, we'll be working on that, some Patreon stuff. There's some stuff we're working on, and I hope we're able to get it done, being with our schedules conflicting and shit like that. But anyway,
adults, fuck.
Right. I hope you guys have enjoyed this show, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.
That's 3 hours, bitch.
Yeah, it was 3 hours. Yep. And I gotta go cook. Yeah,
I'm about to cook too. What are you making?
I'm making this Hispanic soup. It's called sancocho, and it's basically like it's typically made with like leftover meat. So you have pork, beef, and all that, but I'm not doing that. I'm making it with just boneless, skinless chicken thighs in the soup, and I put pumpkin, I put like yuca, corn, and then let all of that simmer for a few hours.
Oh,
and
that
then
sounds good.
It's really good. So
I'm doing
making
some country shit. I'm making meatloaf and mashed potatoes.
Oh, meatloaf. I haven't had meatloaf in so long.
I'm doing the meatloaf. Baby done got me all the ingredients. He's like, I want meatloaf for dinner. I was like, okay.
Yeah, he even wanted me to cook the soup because
so we're placated to our sticks and berries today. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, well, he had the seed pouch. So because he
did, mine got a seed pouch and a hatchet too. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, I got you, baby.
Seed pouch, hatchet, and cowboy boots. So you get the soup, goddamn it.
Get whatever you want, Big Daddy. Yes. Jesus told me to cook for you. You want a cake? Let me make you a pie. Like I got you.
Know what's funny? I made him brownies the other day. He was like
niggas get in their feelings. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so all you ratchet bitches, I wish y'all would just keep being ratchet. Because when they run up on a bitch that know how to cook, these niggas are so complacent. Yeah, they're just so complacent. They're so happy. It's like, oh, you made me a sandwich, bitch. Yes, I did. I put pepper and salt on it and everything. Like
I made him some tacos. He was like, yo, I ain't never had a taco like this.
Niggas be feeling real extra. Like, bitch, I ain't doing nothing.
But you know what's funny? This goes back to that conversation, right? With the whole submission stuff, right? And I think it's such an interesting conversation when people want to force submission on someone. When in reality, I feel like if you care about someone, if you love them, you're just gonna want to do stuff like that for them.
Exactly. Because you just care. Right? Like
because I know he's at work all day. Why am I gonna ask you to cook when you get home when I could have just cooked? Like I know how to cook. I cook well, so it's
I got a couple good hours. I got you. Let me hook you up with something. I made my baby fucking pork chops, rice, and then sausage and onions and all that last night. He came home from work and he just thought he was the king of the house. Nigga, his dick grew like 3 times that day. You know what I mean? Like he was just so excited.
So like, it didn't have to be forced. It didn't have to be, oh, this is your job as a woman. You know, the other day I wasn't feeling good. He cooked for me. Like it doesn't have to be forced. It's just a matter of like, if you care about someone, you're just gonna do it for them. Oh, you hungry? I got you. Like I'm in the kitchen anyway. I'll make you a sandwich. It's not you're a woman, go make the fucking sandwiches. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And what's that saying? You catch more bees with honey than you do with vinegar.
I'm trying to tell you.
You treat somebody well, they'll treat you better. And if they don't, then leave them and find someone who will.
And that's why Vidal is single. You know what I mean? Right there. That's why Vidal can't find a man.
Leave Vidal alone.
Because you tell Vidal to make a sandwich and she gonna come back with some bread and mustard because she's just a defiant bitch. You know what I mean? Like that's the defiant bitch. You know.
Ani said when I go back east, my friends will be working all the time, so I plan to do some cooking for when they get home at the end of the day. Oh, exactly. Ani, do you make fry bread? Yo, have you ever had Native American fry bread?
Yes, I have. Oh my fucking God.
It's so fucking good.
That shit'll make your hips grow 3 times.
It's so good. Fry bread is so fucking good, man. I had one time a bison burger at a powwow at a Native American powwow. It was so good. Yo.
Bison is up there with bear meat. I'm trying to tell you. Like,
I never had bear meat. Is it that good?
You ain't never. You have never. You have never had anything so tasty, especially when they like cure it properly because it's super gamey. So they got to like treat it. Oh my God. So good.
Look at Ani screaming at me. Thank you.
Of course I make fried bread.
I know I was playing myself, but I just wanted to make sure because I love fried bread. Man, that's so good. Anyway,
it comes from the most impoverished people. The most impoverished people in the nation make the best food.
Because they work with the
the least,
with the basics.
Yeah, you got to make it good.
Bison burgers are delicious. You can't let it get cold because it dries out. Yeah, that's true. You got to cook bear well or you'll get trichinosis.
That's what I mean by you got to treat it right. Like there's a whole process. I don't know how to actually prepare bear meat, but I've had it several times now. And every time I've had it, it's been absolutely delicious. It has a sweet, like when they say bear meat is sweet, like they mean it. Like there's some sweetness to the bear, like pork. It's weird and it's so good.
Yeah. I gotta taste that now that I've heard about it. I've been wanting to try alligator.
Oh my God, so good. I'm supposed to be going out to me and Bay are supposed to be going out to New Orleans next weekend to go hang out with LA Anime, and he is so excited to try all of the food out there. Yeah. It's be my first time in New Orleans, so we'll get pictures and videos and stuff.
You gotta send them. You have to. Like, I want to go to New Orleans. Well, he wants to go to New Orleans. He loves New Orleans. I've never been there.
How far are you from New Orleans?
Well, I'm in Michigan, so how far is that? I don't think it's super. I don't know if it's that far. I'm not sure. But Miss Parker's a hillbilly.
I am a hillbilly. I have also had. Okay, let me tell you the most hillbilly thing I ever ate. Just between us, don't tell nobody. But one of the homies married a real hillbilly Appalachian man. Okay. And we were over there hanging out for breakfast. And he's like, hey, I'm going to make some squirrel brain and eggs. Squirrels. You know those cute little squirrels?
I've heard squirrel meat is interesting tasting.
It is. It's exceptionally interesting.
Does it taste like chicken?
Everything tastes like chicken to niggas, and I don't know. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I don't know how to even answer that question. Like everything tastes like chicken. Like niggas will tell you that like alligator tastes like chicken. It doesn't. But I've heard somebody be like, "Ooh, frog meat is like chicken. It tastes like chicken." No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It doesn't. It's different. But like this dude, like no bullshit, made scrambled eggs with squirrel brains, and he served them for breakfast. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this shit was good though.
Was it good?
It was good though. Like you ever had that kielbasa? You know what I mean? Them kielbasa.
Oh yeah, kielbasa. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Them brain tacos. Like I'm not okay. Listen, I'm not.
I've heard brain tacos are good.
Them shits is good though. Like I'm not gonna say that I eat them every day. I'm not gonna say that I'm into it every day, but god damn it, them motherfuckers know how to cook some shit. And this Appalachian man. He's a white man, mind you, and he did really well, and I liked it. It was good. It was good. I wouldn't. Yeah. I know some people are gonna be like, oh my god, Miss Parker eats squirrels. The fuck I do. Yeah. It was good.
I heard squirrel meat is not bad at all.
Yeah, like I don't know how many squirrels you have to catch to feed 8 people. But that's how many.
A family. That's a family of squirrels.
That's a whole. Yeah, that's a whole horde. Yeah, that's like a whole like unit, like a whole horde of squirrels.
Yeah, that's a massacre of a family. Damn.
It's a whole massacre. It was great, and I'm happy that Ani was like, "Oh, squirrel meat can cause mad cow disease." I believe it. It's some Appalachian shit. They don't give a fuck. I believe it. Yeah, I believe it.
I believe it. Oh man! All right, y'all. I forget that we were still on. All right.
Yeah. On that
right,
note, we'll see y'all later.
Later. Bye.
Bye. Get the fuck out.